serious issues about the safety and reliability of our rail services.
Alleged inefficiency, House of Representatives to investigate Nigerian Railway Corporation.
The president has released a huge amount of money to commence the payment. So no cause for alarm.
Plus, fake news. Nigerian police force describes alleged planned strike action by personnel, says efforts are on to implement their new salaries and allowances. Good evening. This is NTA Network News, and we're reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Yenri John. Adeola Komiakere is in our Lagos studio, while Zenred Dingman is in Jos. Welcome. It's good to know that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at ntang.ng/live. Our YouTube channel is NTA News Online. Our Twitter handle is at NTA News Now. You can also visit our Facebook page at NTA Network News and Instagram, NTA Network, for updates. We'll begin with security tonight, as Nigeria's military successes in the ongoing counterinsurgency operations in the northeast is acknowledged by the Global Index on Terrorism. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, stated this at the commencement of the 2022 First Quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference holding in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has the details.
These are Nigerian Army field commanders, principal officers and heads of units and formations at this periodic platform to review their operations to decisively tackle the prevailing security threat.
We shall continue to forge ahead with even greater vigor, commitment and dedication, and would not let Nigerians down.
To stem the emerging challenges, the Army upscaled force restructuring, deployment of new platforms to theaters of operation, and training in conjunction with foreign partners.
Our modest successes against the terrorists in the Northeast are being recognized and applauded in the global index. This was achieved through increased synergy with our sister services.
New enhanced welfare packages for Army personnel will be unveiled at the conference. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And now talking education, with 70 years of education and human skills development in the West African sub-region, and now faced with the challenge of more sophisticated examination malpractice, the West African Examinations Council has been advised to start preparing for the next 70 years to overcome more challenging times in the face of innovation and technology-driven age. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo gave the advice when declaring open the 70th annual council meeting of WAEC with the theme 70 years of reliable educational assessment and commitment to regional cooperation and integration. State House correspondent Dido Nifade reports.
Nweze Isabella Chinaza, Nigerian, first prize winner of the WAEC International Excellence Award for the West African Secondary School Certificate 2021, and also the National Distinction and Merit Award winner for the same examination. Ediani Izuchukwu, also Nigerian, came second in the national award and third in the international category, while the second winner in the international category is from Ghana, named Asante Kwame Brako. Pascal Chiemerie, Nigerian, is the third prize winner in the National Distinction and Merit Award category. Celebrating with the winners and the West African Examinations Council, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says there is no doubt that more than 90% of the people from countries that made up the council, Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia, have benefited from the examinations body.
But WAEC's contributions go beyond that of just being an examination body to that of promoting sustainable human resource capacity, the integration and cooperation of West African states. And in these past 70 years, WAEC has shown its own resilience by the challenges that it has faced, and has faced them forthrightly, resolving issues, for example, of exam malpractice, and evolving steadily and confidently into a more technology-driven organization.
Commenting on the high level of examination malpractices by candidates, as narrated by the chairman of the council, Professor Ato Esuma, and the Registrar, Pateba, the Vice President recommends some crucial steps the body will have to take to tackle its challenges.
Whereas the teaching and delivery of the West African school certificate, for example, encourages learning by rote, the IGCSE incorporates the teaching.
It recommends some crucial steps the body will have to take to tackle its challenges.
Whereas the teaching and delivery of the West African school certificate, for example, encourages learning by rote, the IGCSE incorporates the teaching of core skills, deep learning skills as they are described today: critical thinking, creativity, imagination, problem-solving skills, and collaboration. These are essential skills that young people need today to be competitive and to be prepared for life and work in the global economy. This is the Africa that WAEC must prepare our children for. An Africa that will need world-class young people who have strong interpersonal, innovative, entrepreneurial, critical, and creative thinking skills, amongst others.
Both Nigeria and the Gambia are said to be up to date in their financial commitments to the examination body, and the Vice President reaffirms Nigerians' continued support for the West African Examination Council. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Meanwhile, ministries, departments and agencies involved in the implementation of the National Action Plans have been advised to intensify efforts in the execution of the plan's aim towards creating a better business environment. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo gave the advice when the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, which he chairs, received the midway report on National Action Plan 7.0. Again, State House correspondent Jide Onifade brings us details.
It is half time for the ministries, departments, and agencies responsible for the implementation of the National Action Plan 7.0. The plan started on February 7th this year and is to end on April 7th. So it is exactly just over midway.
And so we were looking at the progress so far. You know, we have the agro-export plan, and then we have the other initiatives, the regulatory initiatives, the automation initiative, the airport plan.
Referencing the commitment of the administration to improving the economy, the Vice President said implementing these reforms are vital towards further improving the country's business environment. Here is the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Niyi Adebayo.
The results, midterm report, which was presented to us, shows that there's still a lot of work to be done. And we listened to the report, we looked at all the areas that were touched on. A lot of the areas especially had to do with the ports, the level of the ports, the level of work that's going on at the ports, how the ease of exportation and importation into the country. So these are all the areas, some of the areas that were looked at, and with a view to see how we can improve on the situation as it is.
The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council's Secretariat has been monitoring the implementation of the National Action Plan and presented the midway scorecard to the Council.
It wasn't too encouraging where we are right now after day 30. So we really need to drill down on those escalations and to hold agencies accountable and to encourage them to push more to deliver these reforms for Nigerians.
The National Action Plan 7.0 has an implementation period of 60 days, and achieving just 26% midway is considered not acceptable. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo emphasized that what has to be done must be done to improve for the benefit of all Nigerians. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
And away from the State House now, the Nigeria Police Force is working round the clock to ensure full implementation of the incremental salaries and allowances of officers and men recently approved by the Federal Executive Council. Acting Force Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi stated this while reacting to the alleged strike action by some members of the Nigeria Police Force. Francis Fom reports.
Barely one day after the news of the alleged strike action by some personnel of the Nigeria Police Force trended on the social media, which the force has since described the action as fake and mischievous.
So we are very, very sure that that message did not come from the police.
The leadership of the Nigeria Police Force is reassuring officers and men that the budget department of the force is working to ensure the necessary documents are forwarded to the Ministry of Finance for the commencement of payment of the recently approved salaries and allowances for officers and men of the force.
This was the initiative of the president. He was the one that started it, and is the one that has the minister to present at the FEC, and the FEC has approved. The president has released a huge amount of money to commence the payment. So no cause for alarm is the pet project of the federal government, and that is what they will do. So there is no need for us to, and they are going to pay in arrears. No matter if it is April, if it's June, if it is May, they will pay arrears. That's one good thing about it.
The acting force PRO assures that the Nigeria Police Force, under the leadership of Usman Al-Khali Baba, will continue to transform the force in line with international best practices. Francis from NTA News.
In other news, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the state of affairs in the Nigeria Railway Corporation following allegations of inefficiency. National Assembly correspondent Lamiale reports that the decision is sequel to a motion from Minority Leader during Tuesday's plenary.
In the motion, the Minority Leader Ndudi Elumelu mentioned incidents when trains on transit with passengers experienced breakdown, citing a recent episode on 11th March 2022 when a train conveying passengers and goods from Lagos to Ibadan was said to have stopped midway due to insufficient fuel.
Points to the inability of the management to effectively conduct routine standard operation check, thereby raising serious issues about the safety and reliability of our rail services, which must be seriously investigated.
Is indicative of an underlying problem.
House members also expressed concern over allegations of ticket racketeering and hoarding by some staff of the corporation, a situation they noted as economic sabotage capable of undermining revenue generation that may affect loan repayment targets. The report of the meeting held between House leadership and stakeholders on the scarcity and high cost of aviation fuel was submitted during plenary.
I believe they have been able to come to some concrete resolutions that hopefully we believe should save the industry from imminent collapse.
The work was done extremely well, and we have been able to save the country and teaming Nigerian populace from imminent embarrassment.
The report of which has 3 critical recommendations. Meet within next 3 days and agree on some terms of agreement which we believe is going to address the problem. Mr. Speaker, honorable members.
In view of the scarcity of petrol, the House urged authorities to hand over the nation's refineries to foreign entities to get them working.
In an effort to resuscitate them, the federal government of Nigeria is reported to have spent a whopping $26.5 billion United States of America dollar.
The report on a bill to amend Obatami Awolowo University and bill to establish Federal College of Nursing, Midwifery and Health Sciences, Isia Lambano, Imo State, were considered and approved. 3 bills were taken at third reading and passed, while a bill seeking to amend National Senior Citizen Center to enable establishment of citizen centers and old people's homes in all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory passed second reading. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NC News.
This is NTA Network News. We shall take a break now. The news returns shortly.
You want to shake your body, instead they make you calm down. In the pump say stabby. You want to grow 6 packs in a day. You know you pass your power. You want to show yourself.
whatever your size. Find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Zenith Better Life promo is back, and it's bigger and better. You could be one of 20 lucky customers to win 150,000 naira every 2 weeks from now till January 31st, 2023. To qualify, simply open a Zenith Bank account and maintain a minimum balance of 5,000 naira. For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
What are you waiting for? Millions of Nigerians have received COVID-19 vaccine. I have taken my own. What about you? We have taken our own. What about you? I am strong and healthy. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? We are strong and healthy. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Go and get your job. The hospitals, churches, and the mosques. Go and get your job. Health centers, hurry up now. Don't be late. Go and get your job. Bye-bye, Corona. Bye-bye, Corona. This message is brought to you by the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, NPHCDA.
Oh boy.
You know, I know you're making up the truth. Why can't I go before I lose my cool? I know you even past the difficult.
It's been a long day, and nothing could feel better than sleeping comfortably. So relax. You won't be bothered by leakage or irritation tonight. Huggies Dry Comfort has a super fast dry layer that quickly absorbs wetness for all-night dryness and comfort. So baby can wake up comfy and dry as the night before. And you keep doing great, Mom.
Now in a new look pack available from 550 naira.
It's scary, isn't it? Putting yourself out there, ignoring the voices telling you you can't. Moments like these are when your fight or flight response kick in. Will you step aside? Or will you go for it? After all, what's the worst that could happen? So, keep trying. Don't stop. Don't give up. Push harder. Give it everything you've got. Because nothing is really impossible when you dig deep. Believe in yourself and go for it. Olive Daddy, available in many variants to nourish you every step of the way.
Enjoy the reward that sharing brings with the Airtel Family Plan. Get bonus talk time, SMS, and data for each family member you share with. Dial *141# now. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thank you for staying. Just a quick reminder that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, on our YouTube channel, NTA News Online. Twitter is at NTA News Now. You can also visit our Facebook page, NTA Network News, and our Instagram is NTA Network for updates. 15 countries from West Africa and Sahel sub-region, including Nigeria, are holding deliberations on the food crisis and malnutrition in the region. The meeting is under the auspices of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization for West Africa. Musa Aliyu reports.
Good morning and welcome.
These are delegates from 15 West African countries and the Sahel. They converge on this hall at Transcorp Hilton Abuja to discuss one important thing, which is food. Food, not for their personal consumption, but for the 297 million people across the entire West African sub-region. This is the 13th time they are meeting, and this year's theme is joining efforts to build resistant agri-food systems in West Africa and the Sahel.
It will also offer an opportunity to enhance collaboration, joint planning, and mutual accountability in driving actions towards a resilient agro-food systems in West Africa and Sahel.
Climate change, population growth, and urbanization were identified as key issues leading to increase in food insecurity in the region and the Sahel.
Countries in West Africa and the Sahel have witnessed the negative impacts of climate change, a declining natural resource base, recurrent natural and human-induced disasters, and rising insecurity.
Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, Minister of Agriculture, says food insecurity and malnutrition remain a major challenge for 19 million people in 21 states in the country.
Therefore, it is important to stress the need for coordinated, multidisciplinary, and multisectoral approaches in tackling agricultural development issues.
United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization is supporting the West African nations to have a better production, nutrition, environment, and life. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
And still on agriculture, plans are underway to assist rural communities and smallholder farmers in conflict and post-conflict territories in Nigeria to become supply chain farmers rather than producing for just local consumption. Avas, an indigenous agricultural and food production firm, is engaging a renowned international foundation, Plant for Peace, in realization of the initiative, which will kick off on the 7th of next month. Charles Alpha reports.
The need to advance Nigeria's agriculture and rural development in the midst of conflict is resonating across borders. Achieving food security and sustainable economic development for self-sufficiency in the face of climate change and insecurity is calling for desperate measures among nations. The private sector, and indeed an indigenous firm, is taking up the challenge with the engagement of experts proven to have succeeded in similar areas in Afghanistan. In a virtual media parley by Avas, organizers of the upcoming event say the initiative will revolutionize agriculture in Nigeria and the place of smallholder farmers in delivering maximally. The Chief Executive Officer, Avas Consulting, Michael Kadiri, believes the amount of technology and infrastructure that will be delivered by Plant for Peace will create different compelling opportunities in Nigeria's agricultural sector. Founder, Plant for Peace, James Brett, bringing to bear his experiences in stabilizing troubled areas of the world in empowering communities to become self-sufficient through sustainable agriculture and trade, said smaller farmers and communities in Nigeria will be participating in global food markets. Advancing Nigeria's agriculture and rural development in the midst of conflict is the theme. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and notable governors are expected to flag off the event on the 7th of April in Abuja. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, has stressed the need for global partnership for the promotion of humanitarian efforts to improve the lives of the vulnerable towards making the world a better place. The First Lady stated this while addressing participants at the 18th Dubai International Humanitarian and Development Conference and Exhibition tagged DHAD 2022, currently taking place in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports.
The three-day 18th Dubai International Humanitarian and Development Conference and Exhibition tagged DHAD 2022, which was built on SDG Goal 17 of promoting peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development, the First Lady of Nigeria said is appropriate considering the challenges of climate change and COVID-19 pandemic, which called for greater concern by all stakeholders. The First Lady has also shared her success story under the Aisha Buhari Foundation and future assured of promoting the lives of Nigerian women and children through various interventions in health, education, women and youth empowerment, as well as addressing malnutrition, among others.
The challenges of post-COVID-19 and the current conflict in Ukraine have compelled the need for the examine the existing humanitarian responses to address the emerging issues. The emphasis of interdependence and mutuality in the humanitarian and development sector should be used more generously to shape the new direction and attitude of our multiple stakeholders.
With hundreds of thousands of Nigerian women, youth and children benefiting from the humanitarian gesture of our foundation since 2015, Mrs. Buhari has called for more partnerships towards achieving future plan to set a new phase of humanitarian effort for the betterment of the global community, focusing attention on the less privileged groups in Nigeria in particular and in the African continent.
Now, the interface between
Dr. Manan Muhammad Rian of Noor Foundation of Dubai and other stakeholders from across the globe also emphasized the need for the global action in this direction for the sake of humanity.
That is why the Aisha Buhari Foundation and Future Assured that is represented here is very likely to benefit from the opportunities abundant here for partnership.
This conference is particularly important because it's a humanitarian, conference that is organized to promote partnerships in humanitarian aid.
The First Lady reaffirmed her commitment with improving the lives of Nigerians, particularly women, youth and children, and her presence at the Jihad 2022 is a clear demonstration to that regard. In Dubai, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
Back home, as the increment in the cost of aviation fuel lingers, the airlines might just be only a few days away from shutting down operations. Except there is a reversal in the cost of Jet A1. Some airline operators consider this as a serious economic sabotage in an exclusive interview with aviation correspondent Emmanuel Ayemiro.
We have no reason to understand how fuel prices can climb astronomically in days. There's no reason for it. The fuel was here already. They're not buying fuel every day. They already had the fuel. So after buying the fuel at a very cheap rate, they're taking advantage of everybody to raise the prices every morning when they wake up. We think it's a cartel, and we think that cartel needs to be stopped and corrected.
There are two major commodities that the airline operators and ground handlers rely on to carry out daily operations. Unfortunately, the cost of the two products, aviation fuel and diesel, is rising, leading to a continuous increment in airfares. Industry players are worried that the cartel is allowed to determine daily prices of each product persistently.
February 2022, you are buying the same fuel first at 390, then at 407, and by first week in March, it's 629. And there is no way you can keep the same price because fuel is a major factor in flying safety of the aircraft.
If nothing is done about the current situation, then it won't be long. Some of us will just wake up in the morning and not have enough money to buy fuel to operate.
Another important modal factor into the cost of air ticket is the ground handlers who make use of machines to complement the services of the airlines. The diesel is also a serious problem to them.
I think one of the things that we must be very careful about is that we get to a point whereby we begin to, you are trying to go to the sky, you are afraid to go to the sky because an airline or a ground company is cutting costs. Before the pandemic, I had to pay a cost of about 5-point-something million to bring in the 33,000 liters of fuel, of diesel. As of today, I pay almost about 15 million to get the same liters of diesel.
When you deregulate a sector, that means you cannot come back and fix prices or say this is the minimum price an airline can charge. Definitely airlines are allowed to increase their price according to the market.
In the long run, should operators of airline be granted licenses to import aviation fuel to avoid being held to ransom by oil marketers? who regulates agencies responsible for monitoring importation and sales of the products. These and many other questions serve as posters for authorities concerned to answer. Emmanuel Ayemiwo, NTA News.
Many thanks, Emmanuel. And now flying into the Red Chamber, the Senate is considering a bill that seeks to establish sickle cell disease research and treatment centers across Nigeria. The National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the bill, which has passed second reading, canvasses early detection and prevention of the inherited disease.
150 babies are said to be born with sickle cell disease in Nigeria annually. A statistics that the World Health Organization in 2021 says account for half of the global burden. A legislative intervention by the Senate is now on with a proposed law that will establish centers across the state for early detection and treatment of sickle cell anemia. Senator Akun Iyakeyi is the sponsor of the bill.
For the establishment of the sickle cell disease research and treatment center in teaching hospitals across the country.
There must be some emphasis on education, like we have done in terms of COVID-19 and HIV.
Sickle cell is a disease that we are all concerned about, and if there is anything that we need to do to minimize its depressive and debilitating impact, we should do so.
The bill that seeks to regulate the practice of mortgage banking, mortgage brokers, and the activities of its practitioners in Nigeria, sponsored by Senator Tolu Odebiyi and the Federal University of Medical Sciences, Gwadabawa Sokoto State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Ibrahim Gobir, also passed second reading. Senate passed the Federal College of Education, Ekeadolo, Edo State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Matthew Oregide.
The Institute will regulate its members and set standards in line with global best practices,
and to contribute to the scientific transformation of medical and other health practices in Nigeria,
thereby closing the gap in knowledge of teacher education in Edo and beyond.
Senate, through a motion by Senator Uche Ekwunife, urged federal and state fire service to investigate the fire incident in Anambra Central Senatorial District of Anambra State.
That over 700 farmers and hundreds of traders have been totally impoverished.
The bill that seeks to establish the Nigerian Television Authority College, JOS, passed first reading. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And still on health, a former lawmaker in Bauchi State has provided the first healthcare facility in Sabonlai, a suburb of Bauchi metropolis. Mahmoud Mohammed reports that the community has been in existence for about 3 decades.
Sabonlai, located along Bauchi-Kano Road, the community is about 15 minutes drive to the center of the state capital. A lack healthcare facility.
Mukan sha wahala sai dai mu ta fama da chemist, wani lokaci mu ta fama yara ya kawo mana muce-mucen yara masu ciki ma ban mu da yanda za mu yi.
Sai za ka hau daga nan zuwa Turun za ka yi minti 30 ko zuwa 40 da wani abu. Zuwa da dawowa kaga za iya hadawa ya baka awa daya ko awa daya da wani abu ba.
And finally, a silver lining appears in their dark clouds, as this edifice now stands in the heart of the community as the first healthcare facility that would cater for their health needs.
The grace of God, my next pregnancy, I will enter here and deliver there in the name of Jesus.
Knowing fully that this particular community is devoid of all kinds of services when I made up my mind that I am going to have. As I made up this intention, God keeps blessing me, and today I'm done with it, and you can see how happy my people are.
Initiated by late Senator Ali Wakili and abandoned after his demise in 2018. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Mohammed, NTA News.
And from Bauchi, we head to Gombe. For any plan towards the development of the Northeast to succeed, the ideas of people from the SAP region must be included. This is the bottom line at the end of a consultative meeting with stakeholders on the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan. Emmanuel Akila has details.
The Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, has been working to cushion the impact of insurgency, environmental degradation, socio-economic challenges, and the infrastructure deficit in the sub-region. It now wants to develop a plan for improvement and sustainability on its gains.
When you empower the youth, when you create economic development, then likelihood is you have peace and you have progress.
Gombe State has a 10-year development plan, which would help the Commission understand the direction of development of the state.
Without a good roadmap that affects or reflects the true yearnings and aspirations of the people of the sub-region, it will be difficult for the Commission to achieve the primary objectives of coordinating the resettlement, rehabilitation, integration, and reconstruction of infrastructure in the sub-region.
For the people of Gombe State, the consultative and engagement meeting is a consolidation on the impact the Commission is already making on their lives, and it is a forum for inclusivity to capture the true needs of the people of the region in a master plan.
In a day, we had about 40 cases of snake bite. And we are so comfortable. So because we have 2,000 virus, we know that nobody is going to die because of snake bite. So as far as I'm concerned, this Races Development Commission is something that we have been hoping for to come down to us.
The submission of stakeholders from Gombe State will be added to others to design a 10-year master plan for the development of the sub-region. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
A senator formerly representing Rivers East Senatorial District, Magnus Abe, has advised youths in Rivers State to take advantage of opportunities that are bound to better themselves, the state and the country at large. Senator Abe gave the advice during an interactive session with Rivers youths and young professionals in Port Harcourt. Janekume Ululu reports.
The interactive session with Senator Magnus Abe was to brainstorm on the future of the various communities and River State as a whole.
Government of the people, it means it's about the people. By the people give you their mandate and their sovereignty. And then for the people, it means that whatever you do must always capture the interest of the people.
The convener, Senator Magnus Abe, noted that in building a state and society, everybody has a role to play.
Great cities and great societies are built by the sacrifice and efforts of its own people. If we want a great society in River State, if we want a great city, if we want a great community, if we want a place where our own dreams can be pursued and realized, we must be ready to make the sacrifices that will give us those results that we want.
The interactive session also created an opportunity for the youths and young professionals to ask questions and bear their minds on very critical issues.
Another opportunity to interact with one who says we are his own, and we can comfortably say he is our own.
Youths from the 23 local government areas of River State, including student union bodies and young professionals in the state, were in attendance. At the end of the interactive session, the youths, in a communique, declared their intention that Senator Magnus Abe should contest as governor in 2023 election. In Port Harcourt, Janekume Ululu, NTA News.
Let's now move to the Center of Excellence, where Adeola will give us more news. Adeola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Inyere. Dealers on walkie-talkie communication device and the users that are yet to obtain operating licenses to secure their frequencies have been urged to do so or face the wrath of the law. This was the core of a message at a sensitization roadwork held by officials of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy at Alaba International Markets, Lagos. Amaka O reports.
Security, they say, is everybody's business, and for officials of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, there is need to take critical steps in tackling some loopholes connected with the procurement of walkie-talkie device, which is the crux of this sensitization program at the Alaba International Market, considered to be the home of electronic gadgets in Nigeria. And it is the right place to continue the public enlightenment.
They are also using this opportunity to tell them that government is prepared to trace them up to the point of transmission if they fail to willingly come and register with the ministry.
You can equally go to the website www.comtech.gov.ng to get further information on how you can actually register and get your license.
They gave additional information on the procurement processes of the security gadget for seamless operations.
You need to obtain the license because there is a specific frequency that will be assigned to you that no any other person will be on that frequency. And should you have any case of interference, it is not you that will take it up. The ministry will now come to help you.
The market authorities and traders concerned promised to play their part as well as press home their demands.
We have opened our eyes to know that we're supposed to obtain license to operate.
We will continue to assist and support the government. They should assist us because right here, most times you find it difficult to make calls.
The Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy is saddled with the responsibility of facilitating information and communication technology (ICT) as a tool in the transformation agenda of the country. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News. Self-limiting tendencies and lack of empirical data on women development have continued to militate against gender parity and women aspirations to leadership positions across the African continent. This came to the fore at a one-day Gender Equality Forum organized by the United Nations Information Center to commemorate this year's International Women's Day in Lagos. Musa Toliat completes the report.
Women from different parts of the African continent gathered to discuss common issues confronting their aspirations to leadership positions and to forge a common front with a view to removing the impediments in line with the theme of this year's International Women's Day.
We need men.
Participants share peculiar experiences on women development and the role of governments on the continent towards liberalizing the political space for those who intend to delve into politics.
What we want the men to do is to recognize our potential, is to recognize our ability, and to give us the space to grow as high as we want to grow.
There's no law that prevents us from attaining the highest office. It's for us also to empower ourselves, to stop those barriers and say ambassadors have to be men. I don't want to go because I don't want to lose out on this.
The need for women to come together and strategize for common good rather than continue to blame the men for gender disparity was also discussed.
Self-limiting is why we find ourselves where we are. Not the men, really. I don't believe. What I believe is we've got this potential inside of us. We need to go out. We need to be seen.
So to stop the bias, women we have to support women. There should be support system amongst ourselves.
South Africa is far advanced with gender equality legislation. We have a commission on gender equality. We have a commission on the status of women.
It is the 37th International Women's Day organized by the United Nations Information Center in collaboration with Cameroonian High Commission in Lagos. Musa Tolial, NTA News.
And that's a bit from here. Don't forget, you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on YouTube at NTA News Online. You can also visit our Facebook page at NTA Network News. Our Twitter handle is at NTA News Now and on Instagram at NTA Network for updates. The news will continue after this break. To stay on.
Get data unlimited to experience Dance Unlimited on Glow TV. Watch Battle of the Year and other amazing TV content with Glow TV data plans that will make you dance. Dial *777# to choose the right data plan for you.
Capri Sun Funland. Can't wait. Hey. Entry denied.
No artificial colors, no artificial sweeteners, no preservatives.
Nothing artificial. Next up, the water slide.
Nothing artificial and great taste. Capri Sun, the taste of fun. Capri Sun, a product of Cheer Limited.
Introducing an all-time mega offer. Get over 50% discount in the Airtel Home Broadband mega offer. Buy a router for just 10,000 naira and get up to 240 gigabyte or a MiFi for 5,000 naira and get up to 125 gigabyte bonus data. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by Airtel, the smartphone network.
I missed them.
Well, they should be on their way by now.
Will it feel like it used to? With everyone so busy these days.
It will be fine.
Suddenly, feels like I'm gonna fall. I can see all of my dreams so perfectly. Love's not a dream at all. Somebody can rescue me. She always found ways to bring us all together. It took me a while to discover how she does it.
Devon Kings, taste that brings us all together.
Plus is here. Existing Glow customers will get 400% bonus on every recharge and 100 MB data bonus on first recharge of the month. New Glow customers will get 1,000 Naira welcome bonus. To activate, buy a new Glow SIM today or dial *777# for existing Glow customers.
The judges for Nigerian Idol Season 7 are ready. The stage is set, and now it's time for you to impress.
Nigerian Idol Season 7, showing every Sunday on Africa Magic Urban and Family. Proudly sponsored by Biggie Drinks, Nigeria's favorite, and Binance. Exchange the world.
Glad to have you back. Let's now have a bit of politics as the All Progressives Congress Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee under the chairmanship of Yobe State Governor Mai Mala Buni says the governing party is crisis-free, strong and remains united in giving the country the transformative leadership and good governance it promised Nigerians. Salihu Guanara reports.
Just to announce to you and Nigerians that our party is resilient and stronger than ever, and there is no trouble anywhere in our party. I have made a press release, which I will circulate to all of you.
And indeed, the statement was made available to the media, where it states that the CECPC chairman, Governor Mai Mala Buni, took a trip abroad on health grounds, leaving behind written authorization for other members of the CECPC to continue work in his absence. Akpa Odoedehe in the statement said the APC caretaker committee is intact and functional as originally constituted with Governor Mai Mala Buni as chairman, contrary to widespread speculations that the chairman and the secretary and some officials of the CECPC have been removed from office or otherwise replaced. The CECPC assured that delivering a seamless, successful national convention for the APC on March 26, 2022 is top on priority for the Governor Mai Mala Buni-led caretaker committee. The caretaker committee restates absolute loyalty to the APC, the national organs and leadership of the party led by President Muhammadu Buhari, and reassured members and citizens that the party is stronger than ever before and poised to extend her winning streak since 2015 into 2023 and beyond. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with the past president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Mustafa Balarabe Shehu, on his election as president-elect of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations. The president, who wished the engineer Shehu a successful tenure, noted his overwhelming endorsement by the members of the body at the ongoing World Engineering Summit in Costa Rica as a testament to his passion for the field of human endeavor, as well as his dedication towards ensuring a better lease of life for Nigerians, especially rural dwellers, using his familiar terrain of electrical engineering. As the former executive vice president of the body assumes the mantle of leadership of the conglomerate of engineering organizations across the world in 2023, President Buhari urges him to use his wealth of experience and contacts to address some of the issues bedeviling the profession in the country, especially the unfortunate occurrences of collapsed buildings and improvement in the energy sector. It's now time to go over to Jos, where Zenrat has more stories for us.
The Federal Ministries of Health and Agriculture and Rural Development are collaborating to set up a technical working group towards actualizing the production of human vaccine in the country. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire, stated this when the two ministers visited the National Veterinary Research Institute, NVRI-VOM, in Denyang and Abuja, reports.
The visit by the ministers to NVRI is to assess the facilities on ground as the federal government is working to ensure the development of human vaccine, especially with the challenge posed by COVID-19. The ministers were briefed by the Director General, Dr. Mariam Mohammed, about the research institute that has developed more than 20 and more vaccines. Dr. Mariam took the ministers around facilities at the institute, including ongoing biosafety GMP laboratory.
The infrastructure, and they also have the experience in production to be able to join the community of those who are producing the human vaccines.
We take the first option about 6 months to 9 months, or the second option about a year to a year and a half. And I think I consulted with the Minister of Health. I think the sooner we do this, the better.
We had already started concrete work for a vaccine production facility that will be able to scale up production of vaccines to up to 1 billion doses of vaccines per annum.
Human vaccines needs a lot of guards and controls, and I believe that it is doable with collaboration.
They were all optimistic that NVRI can be positioned to be used beyond COVID-19 in Jos, in Denyang and Abuja. NTA News.
Former Head of State General Yakubu Gowon says the construction of a flyover at the British-American junction Jos will no doubt reduce traffic congestion in the area and improve transportation in the city. He stated this while flagging off the project. Priscilla Grumnan reports.
General Yakubu Gowon, in company of Governor Simon Lalong and governors of Niger, Kwara, and Deputy Governor of Edo State, flagging off the construction of overhead bridge at the British America Junction and dualization of Lamingo Junction roundabout. General Gowon says it is an honor for him to be part of the epoch-making event meant to drive the developmental process of the state.
His Excellency and his government have done exceptionally well.
Governor Simon Lalong says the construction is part of keeping to his administration's campaign promises of providing critical infrastructure to the citizens.
We are able to consolidate on achievements in road infrastructure. The total sum of 12 billion naira has so far been expended by our administration on payment of outstanding costs of projects unfinished by the previous administration.
More and more people have migrated from rural areas to urban areas and the cities. We need to improve on infrastructure, and that is what Lalong will do.
Commissioner for Works, Pam Botman, assures that the 1.7-kilometer interchange project will be completed within a span of 12 months. Other dignitaries appreciate Governor Lalong for his efforts in turning around the fortunes of the state positively in Jos. Priscilla Grumnan, NTA News.
That's it from Jos. It's back to Ian Ray in Abuja for what's left of the news.
Many thanks, Zenrit. Now time for a break. Please stay.
Constitutional amendments and matters arising. That is our focus tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. Tuesday Live every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. It promises to be incisive and educative. Join us.
President Muhammadu Buhari has sent condolences to the government and people of Zambia over the passing of the former president, Rupia Buezani Banda. President Buhari commiserated with the president of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, over the loss and urged him to follow the statesmanship of Banda, who handed over power in 2011 and also guided a peaceful transition in the country in the same year, urging leaders and citizens to always allow democracy to win. As the great African leader goes home to a final resting place on March 17, 2022, President Buhari urged more prayers for God's comforting arms on his family and friends while praying for the repose of his soul. The death has been announced of Deaconess Margaret Olutomola Ayodele, née Ihemudu, at the age of 74. A statement from the family on the burial arrangement in honor of late Deaconess Ayodele indicates that there will be a service of songs on Friday, 18th March 2022 at Charles Owaje Close off Grace Avenue, Oluwafela, Magboro, Ogun State by 5 p.m. On the 24th of March, there will be a wake-keep at the family compound in Iluafon Quarters, Ayetoro Wede at 9 in the morning, while interment follows immediately at the Ayetoro Wede Christian Cemetery. Outing and Thanksgiving service will be at the Apostolic Church, Okeayo, Iluafon Assembly, Ayetoro. And that concludes NTA Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching, and please be reminded that rape is a crime. Speak up and take action. I'm Yen Ray John. Have a good night.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative, and interactive on national issues, accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of Christ. Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yeah.
This is the network service of the NTA. The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message from the National Orientation Agency.
All the thrills and all the action on Nigeria's biggest dance reality show. Glow Battle of the Year is on NTA every Sunday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's be and not destroy.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College Short Proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Administrative Principles, Processes and Practices. Date 14th March to 8th April 2022. 4 weeks. Modern Trends in Broadcast Media Marketing. Date 14th March to 8th April 2022. 4 weeks. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 4th April to 15th April 2022. 2 weeks. Audio Engineering Operations and Maintenance. Date 18th April to 29th April 2022. 2 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 180,000 naira and the course fee for the 2-week course is 150,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more enquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Amina Mohammed, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Ibukun Awosika. If their parents allow fear hold them back, we wouldn't have these great achievers as our countrymen. What shall I say? Countrywomen. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, Queen Amina of Zaria, Flora Nwakba, Margaret Ekpo. If they succumbed to gender stereotype, today we won't speak of them with glowing tributes. They were bold, daring and different, and were willing to achieve much more than their education had given them. Nigerian women more than ever are pushing boundaries and occupying on the great global stage. And today they represent the truth that the education of a girl child ripples to communities. I am Omosola Omojola. Thanks for tuning in to Dateline 360. The voices of women in the last week have been loud about breaking gender biases. On this edition, we consider the bias against girl child education. Let's start with a piece by Agatha Eware Ojo as she presents the girl child from cultural nurturing.
The girl child is a female offspring from birth to 18 years. Under the care of adults and with the cultural norm, she develops her personality and character, which experts believe bend her to gender roles.
A girl child is a mother of humanity. She cares, she protects, she provides, she's always there.
Social perceptions and the traditional thinking that a girl's place is in her husband's kitchen and catering for her family exposes her to more household tasks.
My parents treat us equally, but as regards house chores, it's quite different. I do most of the work, and sometimes when the sitting room is dirty, the first person he calls is Dominion. Come and sweep this. You are a girl. This is what you're supposed to do.
Cooking, cleaning, it's really on us. They have to tell you that this is how you do in your husband's house whenever you make a mistake, so it's kind of choking.
In a house, they don't really differentiate between me and my sister. So they doing chores. In chores, they divide it equally between me and her.
My younger sister, like the last girl, she's senior to my brother with like 10 years. So that's to tell you that my parents wanted a male child, because I feel like if they were okay with those 3 girls that they had, maybe my brother wouldn't have been in the picture.
But times are fast changing.
In today's world, everybody's hand is on the deck. So when you give your girl child sound education, be sure of getting a good society.
Am I not a PhD holder today? And I can rub shoulder with other my male counterpart wherever they are.
Every mother and every father knows that this child is an investment to the society.
I have sisters, they do better, they do well, better than I do.
Education, observers believe, remains the greatest tool to change the psychic of the society, to see that girls don't silently suffer unfair practices which bend them to gender roles. For Dateline 360, Agatha Eware Ojo.
Now, the importance of education in all spheres of life, no doubt, is unquantifiable. Hence, the need to provide it to everyone, regardless of gender. Miriam Bala reports on a mother of 7 who had no opportunity of going to school.
Educating children in most homes in Bauchi is a thing that is decided by fathers. Being heads of households, their decisions to send male children to schools supersede sending females, though there are families that believe in sending all children, irrespective of gender. While education is one of a child's rights, Balkisu Bashir, a 35-year-old business-oriented woman, was not given the opportunity to get Western education.
Gaskiya ba mai karatun boko ba, sai dai karatu na Arabi. Arabi kan mun yi shi iya
My father has 37 children, and none of us was given Western education. When I wanted to buy a phone, I was told that if I put animation, people will know that I am an illiterate. That was why I picked a boy and was teaching me how to read and write, and I was giving him 5 or 10 naira daily. Married at the age of 17, Balkisu, the mother of 7, comprising 5 girls and 2 boys, regrets her inability to acquire Western education, but still insists that educating her daughters is of less importance.
Yana da kyau kan kowanne, tunda kowanne ka san shi da kai amfani da shi kuma ka biyar da rayuwarka da shi. So yana da kyau.
Education is very important, be it Western or religious education. Because for everyday survival, you need education so as to carry out your activities. I want to go to school.
There's a general belief that when a girl is educated, she will not make a good wife. She might not be a good mother. The misconception, some of them are religious. That is why we have been working with religious leaders, traditional leaders, to be able to at least make them see that we are educated and we are wives, we are good mothers, you understand? So education rather makes the girls better.
With the saying, when you educate a girl, you educate a nation, girl-child education remains paramount in both home and nation building, considering significant roles played by various women in different facets across the globe. Mariam Bala, reporting for Deadline 360.
The unequal distribution of wealth, power, and privileges between men and women, a phenomenon sociologists call gender stratification, has negatively affected female folk in different ways. Jesuta Moses in this report samples the effects of such biases on women in the area of education.
My language name, Bama Juan. The reason why, the meaning of that Bama Juan is that my dad is always born only women. So when they now ask my daddy, your wife deliver or waiting to deliver, my daddy say, why they ask him again? She be now only wife, a woman, a wife they deliver. So that is the reason why they use that name me. We are 6 girls, 2 boys. It's the only one woman that finished his teaching now. One that followed the boys that go to school. The remaining of us, we did not go.
For many women like Mrs. Teresa Utabu, whose opportunities to get educated have been sacrificed on the altar of gender stratification, memories of such biases bring no happiness.
Let her pay me. If I have the opportunity, even though now I will go.
In those days, that thing affected my sister truly, because we could have gone more than this. So that time, according to my parents, he sent my sister to secondary school. So along the line, my sister got pregnancy. So because of that, he was very annoyed. So we, the remaining one, though my father married 2 wives, 7 girls, 7 boys. So my sister is the first daughter of my father. So because of that, he couldn't train the remaining girls.
Many of them described girl-child education bias as wickedness that has affected their choices and opportunities in life. They expressed determination never to toll such bias cause of the past.
I myself, I have a girl child, it's just a baby, never reached 3 months. Even boys, girls, as my power, if my power reach, all of them, they will go to school. They cannot be like me. Anyhow, if not to hawk pure water, anything I want to do, I will make sure. Say they will not carry my leg. We must go.
I will force her. She must go. She must do what I didn't do. She must achieve it, sha.
As I no go, I no like it. So I want my people, all the children that I born, I want them to go school so that I will be happy.
That the contemporary parents are ready to correct the mistakes of the past
in the area of girl child education bias is evident in the fact that many of them are now being educated. For Deadline 360, Jesuton Moses.
You may opine that their educational deprivation is not the end of the world. How about we compare what is to what could have been? Najatu Tijani brings us images of educated women in Nigerian military and how they stand tall alongside the male folk.
All hands on deck, not just any hands, but strong, well-trained and able to carry out duties to the highest standards, just like anyone else. This all-female crew aboard a Nigerian Navy vessel is breaking stereotypes about the place of women in different professions.
As long as we are able to study, to work hard, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve within your profession.
While these women on water carry out their maritime duties, they can hope to expand their horizon just like Rear Admiral Itunu Hotunu, one of the first female officers and amongst the first architects in the Nigerian Navy, who served as a staff college instructor. In December 2012, she became the first female admiral in Africa. Now the retired grandmother likes to spend her time with her grandchildren. Commodore Jamila Malafa is a one-star general, an international maritime lawyer who heads the legal services in the Nigerian Navy. She's also a wife and a mother. Their counterparts in the Nigerian Air Force are also breaking boundaries.
With God and determination, I have been able to come this far.
The Nigerian Air Force gave me the opportunity to contribute to professional military education of officers, which earned me the double dagger feat.
The new heights these women have reached would have been unimaginable 50 years ago. But today, the Nigerian military recognizes the multifunctional roles women play and takes advantage of their resilience as assets. Women are breaking boundaries in all spheres of life, and the Nigerian military provides such a platform for women to shine, whether as instructors, scientists, or even commanders. And by doing this, the Nigerian military is encouraging the world to take action and break the bias against women. Naja'atu Tijani.
As the world celebrates Women this month, the path to social liberation for the women folk seem to be getting more interesting and inspirational, especially by women who strive from bottom to top of the ladder. In this report, Ngozi Technical takes a long walk into women's world.
It's Saratu Karashi, a peasant farmer who is turning her perceived weakness into strength and breaking barriers in her own enterprise. Without a background of formal education, she toils hard on the soil to raise 5 graduates and breaks records that even the strongest souls would have compromised. Just like Saratu, many Nigerian women aspire for greatness and triumph far more than the male folk could ever imagine on the global stage.
I wish I go to school. I could have learned to be an actress, but because there's no school by then, I suffer a lot. To be going farm, to cut firewood, to sell, to carry my children to the school so that for the better of their lives.
My dream is to become the best producer of baby products in Nigeria.
A lot of aspirations I have. But one of them is becoming a lawmaker in Nigeria so that we can be able to change certain rules and laws that are limiting women.
Call it a sheer luck or a divine providence. Women had also broken the roof of many boardrooms in the formal sector, rising from grass to grace with distinctive stamps on the marble.
Able to contribute our own quota to the development of the nation by way of making sure you develop yourself as professionals, in one field or the other. The need that the duty you owe your children.
We're particularly interested in the recognition of the roles that women play in the informal sector.
With the likes of Saratu out there, the question is, would Nigerian women be given broader forums and opportunities to harness their full potentials, even in the decision circle? The question begs for answer. Ngozi Silva Technical.
Chidi Okafor in our next package has more on educated Nigerian women who impacted and are still impacting the world positively.
Education of the girl child has contributed immensely to the socio-economic growth and development of the society.
The woman is the bedrock to any development, to anything, building of nation, building of family.
It is a fact that girl child education reduces inequality, poverty, and raises productivity, thereby promoting economic competitiveness, resulting in the growth and development of the country. Nigerian women from different walks of life have excelled in different fields of endeavor and fought tirelessly to further women's advancement in education and political representation. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, among other contributions, advocated for Nigerian women's right to vote, became a notable member of international peace and women's rights movements. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, on the other hand, spearheaded several World Bank initiatives to assist low-income countries during the 2008-2009 food crisis and later during the financial crisis. Through education, Nigeria's Flora Nwapa became the first African female writer.
We should keep supporting girl child education, women in leadership, and equal pay, and above all, support their voices and eliminate all forms of violence against them. I believe that today we can make it. Women must continue to fight for their rights.
For Deadline 360, Chidi Okafor.
Now, many girls in Nigeria have zeal and a desire to be educated. While the means to get started is a challenge of a number of them, for many more, the opportunity is scarce. Momsudemi Ndate brings us the reality of the girl child where hope is too far to reach.
She is an intelligent teenager, judging from our interactions.
My name is Marian San. No.
Her comprehension of English language, the benefit of her stint with primary school. She says she dropped out after her mother became blind.
Maths, English, social study, and basic science.
But would you want to go to school?
Yes.
And like her mother's side, her dream of becoming a medical doctor became blurry.
Doctor? She wants to be a medical doctor, which I also love.
Mariam has to deal with role reversal between her and her mother.
Sweeping, washing, and going to Islamia school.
Particularly working as her mother's aide as they roam streets begging for alms. Though the mother, Hadiza, would have loved to see Mariam actualize her dream, she confesses that with no steady source of income, it is impossible to pay for the education of her 9 children.
Just that I don't have the means, hence I would have sent her to school.
So as a girl, Mariam must sacrifice her education for her younger brothers. Trying to absorb the hard facts of this unfortunate reality in the story of Mariam, I was dazed by what I saw next.
Mariam Sani, 14 years old, and her stepsister. Unfortunately, both mothers of the 2 sisters are blind. And because of that, their school is on hold.
These girls had to abandon their dreams of becoming educated to chaperone their blind parents. These are 2 out of thousands of such cases. The plague on the path of the girl child to knowledge, especially in northern Nigeria.
The Ministry of Women Affairs shall be focused on the girl child education and mentoring in order to provide the quality of manpower and population of Nigeria. Advocacy is top. We must do a lot of advocacy.
Experts note that though there's an increase of girl child enrollment in Nigeria, more needs to be done to close the gap and end the bias against girl child education.
Involving the girl child up front and making her understand that life is about choices and ensuring that she has a choice to choose what she wants to become, She has a choice to see that society supports her to actualize her dreams, that she can dream as much as the boy child can dream, that she has the right to have the vision that she wants to actualize. Art is to support her become everything because she is the bedrock of society.
Considering the feat achieved by notable Nigerian women in different fields across the world, getting more girls educated holds much more promise for the nation.
We are confident that as more girls get educated, as more girls become aware, as more girls take a decision for health, make sure they're nourishing their kids because they're more informed that within their environment, that the simple vegetables, for example, the simple crops they have, that if they understand how they need to balance it so that the child is well nutritionally supplied, that it saves not just cost for the household, but even for the community and the nation at large. So it starts from empowering the nations through the girl child. You empower nations, you improve economy of nations through the girl child by simple tasks, simple information, simple dissemination.
Momsade Mendati for Deadline 360.
Education is and remains the key to success. In the political circle, it takes much more for women to break even. Lami Ali brings us the story of how women have fared in politics amid challenges of gender bias.
Parliament symbolizes democracy. It is the largest body of representative democracy. Now, women in most countries of the world constitute about 50% of registered voters. Call it an irony. That number is yet to translate into gender balance in the political space. Traditional, cultural, and religious biases have over time been said to be the clog in the wheel of women's vehicle as they journey to reach that playing field of politics for equal participation. Some women, like Khadija Bukar, are changing the narrative coming from the conservative north. She has since 2007 contested and won the Damaturu Gujuba Gulani Tarmua federal constituency seat in the House of Representatives.
We have the support of some of our male folk who are eager to see that our political career is sustained regardless because of the relationship we have with the people from the grassroots, because we have their very interest at heart.
A whole lot of things revolving around governance, structure, economy, politics, family, and all that cannot take place without the participation of the woman.
The federal government of Nigeria can recognize the impact of women on the development of the nation.
The Deputy Chief Whip Nkiru Kaonye is another Amazon from Abia State. After winning twice back-to-back, her former party's plan to cripple her political ambition by denying her the ticket was unsuccessful as she switched party, contested and won. The success story of these women is liking to win in the battle and not the war as the age-long challenges remain.
A lot of things come up against you when you're vying for a political position. Like where I am in the north, culturally, women should be seen, not heard. Religiously, women should be seen, not heard. But it has changed. We have seen Benazir Bhutto do it in Pakistan. It's a predominantly Muslim Islamic country, but she was able to, come to the leadership position. But unfortunately, it was short-lived.
Efforts to replicate the progress achieved in some countries to make room for more women in decision-making through constitution amendments in Nigeria hit a brick wall as the gender-related bills were rejected during voting.
If you do your math and you do your statistics, you will understand that it is these women that come out en masse to vote for you and I. They come out en masse to vote for you and I. You cannot now be seen working against their interests.
It does not hurt. It does not injure. It does not do any harm to the Federal Republic if we bring our women folk up to speed.
Such comments uplift the spirit as they are indicative of victory in the he for she approach of the struggle to attain gender balance. Lami Ali for Dateline 360.
Kudos Kudos to all women who have proven that girl child education empowers societies. To every girl child, I say to you, you matter and deserve the very best that life offers, particularly the right to education. Think it, say it, act it. I matter and you do. Let's break the bias at every turn.
Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. Our constitutional amendment is not new in Nigeria. It is a universal practice that empowers the legislature to repeal or enact provisions of the law that may be seen as obsolete or fall short of addressing contemporary challenges. The ongoing amendment process today is giving attention to critical issues around legislative and judicial autonomy and other delicate legal frameworks needed for the smooth running of governance at national, subnational, and local government levels. Tonight, NTS Tuesday Live will look at the recent amendment process by the National Assembly and the State Assembly's legislative exercise and expectations from the clauses under scrutiny. But before we go into the discussion, let's see this report put together by National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali.
Following the inauguration of the Senate and House of Representatives committees on the review of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, several submissions were received from stakeholders and interest groups as the Ninth National Assembly proceeds with the exercise, which seeks key reforms for improvement in local government administration, the judiciary, electoral matters, the legislature, security, and gender inclusion. The two committees met to harmonize reports before submission.
As we critically consider the bills in the working document before us, in which the Secretariat has provided both the Senate and the House versions, let our debate, opinions, and decisions on the amendment and expressive clauses be guided by what is best for our people and what is in national interest.
I'm seeking for maximum cooperation from all of us so that we can deliver.
Bills that made provision for state police and immunity for presiding officers of national and state houses of assembly were rejected at committee levels. The constitutional alteration exercise climaxed on Tuesday, 1st March 2022, as both the Senate and House of Representatives voted on 68 bills. In the end, both chambers said yes to financial and administrative autonomy for local government areas as they approve abolishing of joint accounts.
Bill number 1, 2022, Local Government Financial Autonomy. Distinguished colleagues, the results are there. Yes, 92 senators, no, 2 senators, abstain, 0, total 94. Carried is passed.
Bills seeking movement of airports, railway and correctional services from exclusive to concurrent lease were approved, including the bill granting power to states to generate and distribute electricity. The separation of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation from that of the Minister of Justice and the bill separating the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation and that of the federal government were approved. The lawmakers also approved the bill granting power to the National and State Assemblies to summon the President and state governors. Other fundamental provisions that were approved are the establishment of a National and State Council of Traditional Rulers and the bill seeking inclusion of former presiding officers of the National Assembly as members of the Council of State. Attempts to put to rest recent disagreements on who takes charge of value-added tax between federal government and states through constitutional alteration suffered a setback as lawmakers voted against its inclusion in the exclusive legislative list. Also rejected is the bill seeking to provide pension for presiding officers of national and state assemblies and 4 gender-related bills. 1 week after the votes, the House of Representatives made a U-turn on 3 of the rejected gender-related bills dealing with citizenship, indigenship, and the 35% affirmative action for women as the House recommitted the bills for reconsideration.
There are issues arising therefrom, and the House, in its wisdom, has decided to take a course of action for the good of the country.
The 2 chambers will in the coming weeks conduct voting on another set of constitutional alteration bills and forward to state assemblies for concurrence. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
All right, that report sets the tone for our discussion tonight. Let me go ahead and introduce our guests. I'd like to welcome to this program Senator Ibrahim Hadejia. He is a member of Public Accounts Committee and member of the Constitutional Review Committee. Thanks for joining us,
Thank
Senator.
you very much for having me.
All right. We have here tonight also Mainasar Akogo Umar. He's a lawyer, economist, and public affairs commentator. Always good to see you with us here.
It's always happy for me to be here to contribute for the nation.
Let me also welcome to this program Abubakar Sadiq Jallo. He is Chairman, Committee on Judiciary, Jigawa State House of Assembly. He joins us from our Kanu Network Center. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Mr. Cyril.
All right. And also joining the discussion tonight is Dr. Abdul Fatai Sambu, Associate Professor, Department of Public Law, University of Ilorin. He specializes in constitutional law and constitutional justice. He joins us via Zoom. Thanks for being with us on NTA Tuesday Live.
Many thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Right, thank you. Well, at the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. When that time comes, we'll refresh your memory and tell you the procedure. But we always remind you that at that time, you can call in. There are certain things we expect you to take care of when you do call in. But for now, let's go straight to the discussion, and we can start off tonight by looking at those issues in the overall national interest and those matters that are deeply concerned with amending Nigeria's constitution. And we'll start off by speaking to the distinguished senator here with us and say, tell us a little more about this overriding national interest that has, demanded that we take a second look at Nigeria's constitution.
Well, I think, the Constitution itself provides for its amendment. So it is a process, it's a democratic process that paves way for a dynamic Constitution that changes with the times, that changes when exigencies so called for. So, once you get this clamor, we've been hearing a lot of clamor recently. People want state police, some people don't want it. Any issue that really cannot be amended or be dispensed with by a simple, law, or that clashes with the Constitution, then of course it calls for a constitutional amendment. That being said, the process is very rigid because, you don't want to introduce frivolity in something as serious as your ground norm, which is the main law that from where all other laws derive their power. So it provides for its own amendment. It's a rigid process, and it's a process that I think happens almost in every regime. Some successful, some not so successful. And, this time around in the Ninth Senate, I think most of the amendments were far-reaching, and I think also the difference being that The public hearing process was very wide, and I participated in the zonal public hearing and the one in Abuja. And surprisingly, from what we heard from the public, was quite revealing. A lot of the areas where we thought would hear, they don't want state police, maybe because of the security situation. A lot of the northern states actually demanded for state police. So, it threw up some surprises, and, we came back, we put our heads together, we did the harmonization, and until it culminated in what you saw happen about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where at least in the Senate, out of about 68 bills, individual bills. And again, another peculiar thing is that to avoid what happened in the 7th Assembly, where it was condensed into one bill, which the president didn't sign. So, you threw out the baby with the bathwater. This time around, it was individual bills were presented, each on its own standing. So if one dies, it doesn't affect the others. Okay. And we are now at the stage where the ball is in the court of the state assemblies. We'll wait and see how these things fare.
All right. Sir, you've been a keen watcher of the process, and you do know, of course, that over time, Nigerians have called for amendments. So many issues cropping up in the Constitution. So, what's your take on this latest effort?
Yes, every country is like a body system. Every body system is a reflection of its own spirit, and the spiritual component is the determinant of the picture and the functional operations of the body system. The country, any country you see, whether Nigeria or anywhere in the world, its own spirit is the Constitution. And the Constitution is a dynamic document that normally profiles as a reflection of the demands, interests, and aspirations of the citizenry over a given time. There are successive efforts by national assemblies right from 1999 to date to succeed in amending this constitution. We have seen a lot of budgetary exercise, so much money will be voted for constitutional exercises. It ends up as just mere political jamboree, because at the end of it, we have never seen this type of remarkable dedication and dexterity in amending the Constitution as we have seen done by the 9th National Assembly. I must commend the National Assembly really for standing firm with the interests as aspirations of the people, owing to the fact that under sections 14 of section 1, sovereignty belongs to the people. And the true and serious representatives of the people when it comes to getting in touch with the minds of the people, the legislature. The legislature under sections 4, 11, 8 and 9 of the Constitution, the repository authority that have the authority to tactical with the Constitution as demanded by the people. And they have succeeded in doing it this time around, especially the novel idea they have brought of taking the exercise to the grassroots, taking it to the citizenry, people deliberated upon it. We have seen 68 areas that they have touched. It is my humble optimism that those areas will be widened before the end of the exercise, so that we will benefit from so many more important areas. Because when you are amending the Constitution, it is a panacea to social, economic, political, and whatever problems bedevil the nation at a particular time in history.
Okay, thanks so much. Let's go over to our Kanu Network Center and speak to the chairman on Judiciary, Jigawa State House of Assembly, Honorable Abubakar Sadiq Jallu. Well, now the National Assembly has done its bit, and you heard the senator say the ball is now in your court. What can we expect this time? That the state legislature and the National Assembly are on the same page? Because if you recall past experiences, it ended up in huge disappointments.
Mr. Cyril, I would like to see that the state legislatures are very ready this time around for this constitutional amendment. And going by what happened or what transpired at the National Assembly, I can say that we are very ready and we await for a transmission to the State Assembly. And we'll do the needful, we'll do our duty according to the yearnings of our people. And as you already know, that by virtue of Section 9, there are two stages that are involved in amending Constitution. The first stage is what happened at the National Assembly, while the second stage is what happened at the State Assembly, whereby at least 2/3 of the number of states assemblies need to approve such amendments before they become into law. So we are very ready and we'll do the needful, and we will follow all the legislative processes and see that what we do is in line with the yearnings of our people.
This time around, permit me to just press a little bit further. You've said you do what is in the best interest of your people. At this point, many Nigerians will say, well, they would hope that the usual thinking that state legislatures are usually, speaking with the voice of the governors who are in those states, Nigerians would be hoping this time around that there wouldn't be such a maneuvering anywhere. Because let's face it, there are times they have said, look, it would seem as if the governors are the puppeteers behind the scene.
No, Mr. Cyril, I assure you that this time around, we'll do what is needful and we'll do it without interruption or intervention of state governments. For example, let me state categorically clear that in my own state, I can say we are independent to some extent in terms of administration and even to some extent financially. Because in 2018, we passed what is called the State House of Assembly Funds Management Law, whereby to some extent the House is independent. And administratively, I can say we are independent because we have our State House of Assembly Service Commission, whereby we independently perform our duties. We do our own appointments without the interruption of the executive. And I can assure you that in Jigawa, at least where I am a member, I can say we are that independent, and our governor already has given us that political will. He doesn't interfere because I can say this because so many things happened. Even by virtue of signing that particular bill into law, the independence of the State Assembly, I think that is the way, that is a very good way to show that he supports the independence of the State Assembly. And since the passage of that particular law into law, I doubt much if there is any time whereby from the House we send a request for release of funds to the executive governor. We do that to the office of the Accountant General in line with the provision of that particular law.
Thank you very much. We'll return to you with some of the other issues, but let's go over to Dr. Abdul Fatai Sambu, who joins us via Zoom, the Associate Professor in the Department of Public Law in the University of Ilorin. Well, here we are with what has been seen as the most ambitious and serious attempts at addressing the numerous issues that have bedeviled governance, particularly the Constitution of the Federal Republic. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you very much. Well, I agree with you that this is a very ambitious process of actually giving Nigerians a constitution of our choice. But I would have loved a situation where the constitution would be truly autochthonous, at least the constitution would be truly homegrown. At least it will actually emanate from the people of Nigeria. And it's only when the constitution is homegrown and truly emanates from the people of Nigeria that we can only justify the preamble to the constitution which says, we, the people of Nigeria. Again, if you look at Nigeria, since it's for a very long period of time, Nigeria has gotten about 8 constitutions. And of course, the Clifford Constitution of 1922, the Richard Constitution of 1946, the McPherson Constitution of 1951, the late Constitution of 1954, the 1960 Constitution, the 1963 Constitution, the 1979, and of course the 1999 Constitution. This 1999 Constitution has actually gotten about 4 alterations. And please, I would like to use the word alteration instead of using the word amendment, because if you look at Section 9 of the Constitution, it talks about the word, the mode of altering the Constitution. Now, if you look at these constitutions I've mentioned so far, it's either a product of the military or perhaps what was actually bequeathed to us by our colonial masters. So be that as it may, one would have wanted a situation where the constitution would be truly autochthonous, and there are so many advantages of having a constitution that is truly autochthonous. One, it will even allay the fear of the fact that we are saying maybe some governors may want to veto it, or perhaps the houses of assembly of states would like to look into follow the steps of the governor, because this will actually emanate from the people. And there are two major ways in which a constitution can truly emanate from the people of Nigeria. It could either be through a referendum or through constituent assemblies that we had in 1979. So if a constitution is not it does not truly emanate from the people of Nigeria, then there's a problem of legitimacy. And when you talk about the problem of legitimacy, it also leads to a situation where many people will not have respect for the core document called the Constitution. And the Constitution by its nature should have some level of sacrosanctity. It should have some level of inviolability, so that people would, it's different for ordinary lawmaking. And that is the reason why it enjoys, as it is now, the National Assembly cannot even which means that they can continue to order, and that's why we're having the first alteration, the second alteration, the third alteration, the fourth alteration. If you look at the fourth alteration alone, it contains about 3,000 words, which means that we are adding more volumes to the Constitution. We have about 320 sections, compared to an American Constitution that is even up to about 30 pages, compared to a UK, because UK does not even have, UK is a country that is practicing essentially an written constitution. So we got the situation, we don't want to get a situation where our constitution will be so voluminous, and it will not get to an extent that we have to make sure that we include every single thing in the Constitution. It will be so heavy.
Would that surprise you? Yes, we're trying to do all these things, and your worries about overloading the constitution. But you yourself have just talked about a homegrown constitution. And by saying homegrown, I'm thinking you're looking at the peculiarities of this part of the world, where you might not have the kind of thing you have in the UK, which is largely an unwritten constitution. You see how even a written constitution, the kinds of heated debates it generates anyway.
Yes, you see, if you look at, when I say homegrown, it means that the people of Nigeria must be allowed to have say, because if you look at Section 14 of the Constitution, Section 1, the sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria. And you see, when the Constitution is truly homegrown, and when Nigerians actually participated in the making of the Constitution, it may not essentially be through a referendum, but it could be through what we call constituent assemblies. And members of the constituent assemblies will not be appointed; they must be elected for that purpose. If you look at what happened during the period of 2014 confab, as beautiful, as intelligent as those members of that particular confab were, it's lacking in one fundamental, and the fundamental is legitimate because the people in that particular confab were not elected. And if you are not elected for that particular purpose, then the issue of legitimacy, and we cannot actually claim that this particular constitution actually emanates from the people of Nigeria. Otherwise, and one other advantage of having this particular constitution that would truly emanate from the people of Nigeria is that it will give, apart from legitimacy to the constitution, it will give respect to the constitution, and the constitution will go through a process of what we call popularization, because many people will be aware of the content of the constitution. As it is now, not many people are aware of the content of the constitution. And a constitution is a document, a fundamental rules and regulations that upon which a state is ought to be governed.
Okay.
So all right.
All right, we'll return to you because you have raised some very fundamental issues. And right straight away, Senator Ibrahim Hadija here would, address some of these fundamental issues which you have just raised, in addition to looking at specific areas that have been contentious issues even in the past, like the local government autonomy, the question of state police, and many others. Let's let's continue.
Well, Cyril, we heard a lot of this during the public hearing. People coming to question the legality of the Constitution or offering us fast-track methods to amend it. Like I earlier said, the Constitution itself provides for the way it's to be amended. And there's nowhere in the world where an amendment of the Constitution is simple, because if it becomes frivolous, then you probably have a constitution that you wouldn't recognize after maybe 2 or 3 years. I remember during the public hearing in Abuja, a lawyer, a senior advocate, came to tell us that, in fact, the constitution was illegitimate, and that all of us were just wasting our time. And this is somebody who has been practicing law since 1999, quoting this same constitution on behalf of his clients, making a lot of money. You can't eat your cake and have it. It's the constitution we have. It's a constitution that has now produced 9 governments. It's a constitution under which I was elected as senator, and I swore to an oath to uphold and defend it. So, when people start talking about, referendum, it's not in the constitution. I wish it was. What I think people should do is try to participate in the process. Follow it through. We had the public hearings. We are all representatives of people. We had to go home and consult and on a wide range of amendments to find out what my own constituents feel about it, and that's why it's thrown back at the states, just to be sure that it's gone back to the grassroots, grounded in the fact that another set of elected officials will sit down and pass it through. It's not by accident that the process is rigorous. If you look at the number of the clamor for state creation, if we allow that to be a simple process, we'll probably end up with 600-700 states in Nigeria. So it's the constitution that we have, and it contains it's the ground norm. It's what gives everybody the legality to do what it's doing: the judiciary, the executive, the legislature, and so on. And I don't think people have been bashing the constitution left, right, and center. I don't think it's that bad. A lot of what I've seen is that a lot of the constitution, we haven't even tested it. Right. A lot of the provisions haven't even been put into practice, and yet we are quick to say that no, let's have a new constitution, and everybody has his own idea of what this constitution should be like. You mentioned Britain. Britain is a different, it's a parliamentary system. Their constitution is unwritten. You mentioned the United States. They have been at it for 200 plus years. Let us give the constitution a chance. Yes, there are other issues that are confused with the constitution. Everything that goes wrong, if you have bad governance, if you had issues of corruption, ultimately everything boils down to how people point at the constitution, as if simply by tweaking the constitution or by going ahead and saying, yes, let's follow to a referendum and come with a post-constitution, all our solutions, all our problems will have solutions.
It's the magic word.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
Yes, it is crucially essential for us to posit the fact that the current constitution we are having, right from the medieval days, right before the advent of Nigeria as a country, up to now, is the most tested and the most legitimate document we are having as a constitution in the history of Nigeria. There has never been any constitution that has lasted for this period of years that we are seeing. 23 years of tested democracy under the constitution. And people easily forget. I remember very well in 1998 when there was these arrangements to hand over power to a democratically elected government. Selected representatives and elected representatives were combined into the Constituent Assembly to deliberate and bring out this document. And after the exercise, this document was taken to state by state, local government by local government. Professional bodies, ethnic groups, everybody was given the privilege to scrutinize it. And at the end of it, we finally said we agreed, we have a constitution. And section 1 of the constitution says that this constitution is supreme and its provisions are binding on all persons and authorities in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it is binding on you, so long you remain a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then when you say you want to practice democracy, democracy, like we said, is a rule by the majority of the people, and sovereignty belongs to the people as per section 14 of section 1. And the same people now decided to elect their representatives. That is the neatest and the most civilized way to handle state matters. You should have your own elected representatives. And these representatives are texted individuals, a highest degree of bureaucrats of the best quality you can think of. There are former ministers, former governors, there are professors, there are intellectuals of diverse backgrounds in this legislature that we are having. These are the representatives of the people. The representatives of the people have constituency offices by virtue of which they are filtering the opinions and aspirations of the citizenry, and then they come and deliberate it at the gallery. And at the end of it, we now have the opinions of the people. It is the galvanized opinion of the people that really gives the National Assembly the impetus to say, yes, let us go ahead and amend these constitutions. Amendment of the constitution is always a reflection of the customs, costumes, culture, and character of the citizenry of that particular society. The citizens decided that we want these amendments. There are so many amendments. For example, if we take the issue of the state police with the National Assembly, in the overall interest of the nation, decided to tinker it. You cannot in any way think of having state or regional police without altering provisions of sections 153 K, L, and M. And sections 214 to 219 of the Constitution. These are the parameters under which you can be able to have anything that is called policing in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The same thing, all these ethno-regional, tribal, primordial cleavages that we are seeing emerging in the polity, you cannot change it if you are not a representative of the people. That is the beauty of democracy. So whosoever is not satisfied should go and aspire and become a member of either the national or state or even the local government assembly, as a result of which you will have the basis to really beat your chest and say, yes, I am a bona fide representative of the people, on the basis of which you can speak for the people. So long we are now, we decide we want to practice democracy, then we must do it in tandem with the respect of the constitutional stipulations that we have in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And like I said, this is the most tested constitution and the most robust. And so long we are having it and it is experimental, like in my preamble I said, constitution is like the spirit of a life. Spirit of a life. The characters and the comportment of somebody at the age of 7 will be different when he reaches the age of 20, will be different when he's the age of 40, 50, and the rest. So you cannot overnight expect us to reach the degree of perfection of United States or into the hundreds of years they have been there practicing democracy. When you take the issue of Britain, for example, Britain is completely different. It's an unwritten constitution, and in Britain, the Queen is sovereign. The crown of the Queen is sovereign. Here we said the supremacy of whatever we want to entrench in our system of governance is the people. In other words, the people have the determinants, and then the people representatives here have spoken. So it is for us now to give our symbiotic support in tandem with sections 23 and 24 of the Constitution. We should now partake in giving on our support and listen to the constitutional exercise the National Assembly and the state assemblies are undergoing.
Okay, it's interesting you talk about sovereignty of the crown, and that's one area we'll go to shortly, but we have a number of reports. Let's start off with the very first one from Lagos.
We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble nation under God. This signifies the strength of the Nigerian Constitution, the legal document that makes the country a sovereign nation as well as contains the supreme laws of the land. The document is on the verge of experiencing some changes with the ongoing amendment of some sections to meet up with the present realities in various sectors. So far, some bills which border on financial independence for state houses of assembly and the judiciary have gained favor from the lawmakers, and this is generating commendations from the populace.
The amendment is also proposing that
states can actually generate power and actually transmit that. So you can see that it's trying to decongest the exclusive legislative list so that the state government will be able to go into certain sectors for the purpose of development of the state level. And of course, we have also seen attempt to strengthen democracy at the grassroots level.
Out of the items on the decision table, some are not lucky to survive deliberations, even with strong clamor from various groups.
I recall that the National Assembly had to have a retreat where they harmonized those items that they will vote on. And for them to have considered those 5 gender bills and proposed them for voting, I believe that they must trust their colleagues who work on those bills to say that we need, even if we are not going to give women all that they needed, passing all the 5, I have issues with 1 or 2 of them. Particularly, I have issues with the one that tends to say we should create a special seat for women. I feel that that bill should have been reworked to make the affirmative action to be from the existing number of the House of Reps and Senate and State House of Assembly that we had.
Though the 1999 Constitution is presently under review for the 5th alteration, some groups believe the country needs a new constitution to address evolving matters.
The country has so advanced way ahead of the constitution. There are so many issues that have come up, is confronting us right now as a people that the constitution cannot answer, that the constitution lacks answers to. This is why the constitution must be overhauled.
As the process continues, experts are hopeful.
All right, that a report from Lagos, even as it was on, was also generating comments. And let's now see the one that's coming next from Kaduna.
Constitutional amendment is part of legislative prerogative, and the National Assembly has been making attempts to correct the imperfection of the nation's constitution, which was a product of military. This is the second attempt by the Ninth Assembly to amend the constitution to make it in tune with current political realities on ground. Legal luminaries in Kaduna have described the move as an apt development.
They are very fast about it. And I think they should also heed the advice of Nigerians now who want many things altered. For example, devolution of powers, most importantly.
For us, we see the constitutional amendment as a one-sided issue that favors the men, because when you look at their numbers at the National Assembly, they are in the majority. In short, I would like to say they are, in short, is almost everything is about them.
Most written constitutions are rigid when it comes to amendment. So when you are amending such constitutions, what you try to do is to start an early activity of amendment when the National Assembly is elected. But you can see that time is even running out. Although they are passionate about it, but we cannot say that they may not be able to conclude it.
Expunging contentious issues and amending clauses inconsistent with the nation's democratic system are part what occupy the constitutional amendment process.
These are areas that are already captured in the Constitution, but it is a Constitution that has been practiced in the last 22 years. But those basic aspects of the Constitution have not been implemented.
Issues of local government autonomy will be realistic if the National Assembly abrogate state and local government joint accounts as well as abolition of state independent electoral commissions. In Kaduna, Dauda Mohammed.
All right, I did say we'll talk about the question of the place of the traditional institution in Nigeria. But before we go into that, the matter of local government, the autonomy, the financial autonomy, and also that of the judiciary is one that has reverberated over the years. So let's go to Honorable Abubakar Sadiq Jallu and say, now this is coming to pass. What can Nigerians look forward to? Well, you can speak about your state, but this is also going to go through other states. And What is the thinking here that lessons from the past have been learned, and we might well see what, without even taking any kind of statistical census, what we believe many Nigerians would be in favor of?
Mr. Cyril, I think I would not like to preempt what will come out of the maybe rigorous legislative procedure. But I would like to say here that we will subject the bill to the normal process of legislative process, that is, we will subject it to, let's say, public hearing, and we will hear the opinion of our people, and that is what we will support. And I believe we will do that without any interference from any quarter. So whatever I will say here is my opinion, and because we are yet to receive the proposal for the amendment, and we are yet to subject it to the public hearing. So whatever I will say here is not the opinion of my people. I think it will be my personal opinion. So I think I will wait till when the bill is with us, and we will subject it to the public hearing, and we will do what is needful, and what we will support is what is the yearning of our people, or what our people want.
Let me just put this to you. This other aspect is what might be considered a very general matter of interest. It cuts across, and that is securing a constitutional position for the traditional institution. We're fond of saying, oh, the traditional institution, they are the custodians of the people's culture, but we have not yet assigned any proper role. So what would you say about this time around, that the thinking is they should have a proper role?
Yeah, and I think I'm in support of that, because when we look at our history, when we look at the pre-colonial era, we see that the traditional rulers played a very vital role in the administration of both justice and for example, in northern Nigeria, we had a very sound system, but in the judiciary and legislatures, where the emirs sit in courts and decide cases, and they also play vital roles. And when we look at, most especially in terms of security, we can say that we are far better then than what we have now, because these traditional institutions, the traditional rulers are very close. The traditional leaders are very close to the people, and once we give them the authority or the power to participate, I believe they have a very good role to play, and they will have a say. For example, there was a bill I was I was about to sponsor that will empower all these district heads and ward heads power to register all tenants or people that are staying in their area. So I think this will go a very long way, and I support this, and it will really help in maybe ensuring that we have a very good security system in the country.
Let's now go over to Dr. Abdul Fatai Sambu in Lorry, and the issues now, local governments, the autonomy, and these are still very contentious issues. As I said earlier on, given past experiences, and this process will go through the state assemblies again. What can we expect?
Well, just what I talked about the other time. Before going to that, I actually did not say the constitution is not supreme. Of course, Section 1, Sub 1 is there. Its provisions have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that the thing now is, local government, I even cited the example of US Constitution and British. And the reason for citing it is that if you look at US Constitution that came into being, as long as 1778. And you look at the whole document of the U.S. Constitution, it's not up to 30 pages. Now, look at the UK Constitution is essentially unwritten. The point I'm trying to make is good governance does not actually mean that we have an extremely bulky constitution. Before you cannot say, yes, this will lead to make good governance. But the point I'm trying to make is the issue of local government autonomy. States are likely to reject it. They're likely to reject it because the true federalism that most state governors will argue shows that local government is essentially within the ambit of the states. And if you look at the case of Attorney General of Lagos State and Attorney General of the Federation, that case has confidently brought the the local government within the ambit of the state governors. And to this extent that these bills are still coming back to these governors, there's a tendency that the government may also kill that particular bill so that it's not even scaled through. Now, the point now is that if it's a situation where people themselves decide what we should have in the Constitution, then nobody will constitute any toolkit to the expense of having a very homegrown or autonomous Constitution. But as long as we subject ourselves to some of these bottlenecks, then it will lead to a situation where we'll continue to look at very beautiful point that you made the other time, the role of traditional rulers. The role of traditional rulers is, you don't see it clearly in the Constitution. It's not even there in the Constitution. Meanwhile, we have nice constitutions all over the world. Look at the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, where you have traditional rulers, young departure, and being given wide roles to play in this particular. But in a situation where some stakeholders, mind you, if you look at Section 4 of the Constitution, it gives the National Assembly the power to make law for the peace, order, and good government of Nigeria, according to the Constitution. That is, they give them a particular document. Go ahead with this document and make law for the purpose of peace, order, and good government of the Federation. And when they make these laws, it doesn't extend to the power to actually give us a new constitution, because they were elected for the purpose of lawmaking, not for the purpose of actually making a new constitution. And of course, they have actually known their boundaries, and that is why you see that they are actually altering. And when you keep altering a document for almost 23 years now, it's like having the car, you keep patching. It will get to an extent that the car will be so difficult to even drive. So the point I'm making is that I'm not saying the institutions at the moment are not legitimate. Of course, people voted for them. They are legitimate institutions. But the point I'm trying to make is that to give this thing more legitimacy, and you don't expect the National Assembly, with due respect, to actually alter the provision of the Constitution to their disadvantage. It's not just possible. You don't expect a situation where the members of the National Assembly will alter the Constitution to say, okay, we don't need the Senate, or we don't need the House of Reps again. It will never happen. You can't see a situation. So there are some fundamentals that alteration of the Constitution will never solve, except you have people deciding their fate by themselves. And when people decide, then people will even respect the Constitution.
Well, sorry, Dr. Abdul Fattah, if I might just cut it here. You would not be suggesting by any scope of the imagination that the members of the National Assembly who are engaged in amending or altering the Constitution, as you prefer to call it, might do what is only beneficial to them. You'd not be saying that, would you?
My Lord, okay, sorry, that's the point, actually, because that's the truth, because you don't expect the Constitution to be amended, but to be altered in such a way as to affect the interests of the members of the National Assembly. It will not happen. But if the people themselves say this is what, and another thing is, people will know the content of the Constitution because it will pass through popular processes, and it will not be as if something is done in the. Well, I understand that from the amendment, from the alteration so far, this particular amendment actually went around the country and people actually participated. And of course, I even had a memorandum that I actually wrote for this particular, purpose of alteration. But the point I'm talking about, there are some fundamentals. For instance, now look at the presumption of innocence in the Constitution. Other Nigerians will believe that if an accused person is caught red-handed, he should just, you see somebody stealing or kill somebody red-handedly, then that person is subjected to trial that lasts almost 10 years. Ordinarily, our traditional system of justice will be that, okay, somebody has committed an offense, it's so clear that person has made a confession, the confession is clear, okay, why does the person have to stay for so long before that person is actually punished? But the thing is, that's the problem of the Constitution. The Constitution says they are presumed innocent. And we have in so many other countries, like Francophone-speaking countries, where the Constitution is saying presumption of guilt. There are some offenses that should actually carry the presumption of guilt, apart from the presumption of innocence. And that is why when you put these fundamentals to those who actually are experts in that particular process.
Okay, more fundamental issues being thrown up here, but we'll return to one. I just want to quickly go to Senator Ibrahim Ejad on one of the things you just mentioned. If I recall correctly, you threw out the matter of a life pension for presiding officers. I would have thought that was in the interest of them. So if you're only going to consider things in your interest, why did you throw that out?
Not only was it thrown out, it was the bill that was thrown out with the largest margin when we voted. We also threw out the issue of immunity, for legislators, because it was actually, I think, a bill that wanted to extend the same immunity on the executives to legislators. And it was thrown out based on the fact that, everyone could see that it wasn't very popular out there. People forget that we're answerable to the people that elected us. And if you go there and start towing the line of somebody else, you go and face your electorate back home. Like I said, there was a very, very robust public hearing, far-reaching. I was in Kaduna, I was here in Abuja, it was open to all. I mean, we had a limit of maybe 30 presentations per day. Sometimes we ended up taking 57, 60, we ended up leaving at 7:30 because we didn't want a situation where somebody would say he came with his own presentation and he was excluded. So we took all manner of, public opinion. And that was what formed, later on when we sat down and harmonized between ourselves and the House of Reps. We also sat down and harmonized between us and the speakers of the House of Assembly. A lot of the considerations were actually drawn from what we got from those public hearings. It's not about me, it's not about the Senate only sitting down to deliberate on what would favor them. Like I said, those two bills that favored the Senate were thrown out with the highest margins without blinking an eye. So I don't think it's correct. The people really, really underestimate what they see about National Assembly is the public glare. You stand up in the red or green chamber and talk. A lot of what happens, a lot of the constituency outreach, and we have gotten to a point now. People forget that we're also going to a point where our electoral process has really been cleaned up. Votes are counting, and we all know that votes are counting. So I'm not answerable to myself. I'm not answerable to an instruction from somebody. You're answerable to people that elected you. And if you dare go and support anything that goes against their thinking, after the review process, I remember I participated in a radio program in Jigawa and Dutse, and surprisingly, by the time I finished explaining, especially the autonomy for local government, the implications and so on and so forth, of the 6 or 7, it was a live phone-in program, 6 or 7 calls we got, people were shouting, why did we go and support local government autonomy? Because contrary to the belief, I'll give you an example of a state like Jigawa where I represent, it's not all about a governor amassing local government funds and spending it anywhere he wants. There are some local governments that can barely meet their salary obligations. And I remember as a deputy governor from 2015 to 2018, 2016, when the economy took a nosedive, for almost a year and a half, we were dipping hands into state government money to support local governments who had a deficit because the money was not enough. So I said, fine, you know, local government, financial autonomy, my governor would be the first to say, please let them go. Because for him, it has become less of a burden. But what that means is that every local government has to answer its father's name. You know, if you are getting only 20 or 30 million based on your allocation, you are going to have to find out how to fill the gap of 60 or 70 million, first of all, to pay salaries, and then to come and face people and tell them why refuse has not been swept from the streets, why you haven't paid local government workers, because, you know, you cannot cope. It's not every local government that gets the money that Echiosa or Obiako is getting. So that's the local, and that's what I talk about, the fact that we're all answerable to our electorate. I have a peculiar set of issues. I have a peculiar set of problems. I have a peculiar set of demands. My demands are different from what obtains in Lorin in Kwara State, for example. So I really don't think, you know, professor, he's probably been in the classroom too long. Sometimes when people talk about politics, they talk about it from what they read in the pages of newspapers. And I know that the National Assembly in particular has been in the spotlight for some time. So, you know, we're used to this bashing, but it's not what it seems.
All right, Minister.
Yes. Yes, if you look at the legislations the National Assembly are proposing, in other words, the amendments they are proposing, there are some amendments they propose that are really dispositions of statesmanship. For example, the issue of giving time limitation within which the president should appoint or should present the list of his ministers to the National Assembly is very, very fundamental. We saw how many number of months were wasted at the advent of President Buhari's coming in. We saw that the loss for the nation is really regrettable. And the National Assembly, as the pulse of the nation, decided to put a stop to that. That is one. Secondly, the National Assembly decided to put the interests of the common people at heart. National objectives of Nigeria. Nigeria's objective regarding education, the egalitarian nature. So this is a very important milestone when you talk about the decision. Then another thing the National Assembly did that should be commended is the throwing away of the issue of state policy. By the time you allow state policing to continue, it is paradoxical for some people to just come up and say we have created so regional state police when they know that the regional state police, in absence of any legislative machinery to appropriate any money for the regional state policing, it cannot even function. And there is no provision of regional decision. There is nowhere in the Constitution that you have any regional structure. We don't have that provision as far as sections 2 and 3 of the Constitution is federal, state, and local government. There is nothing like regional. Then another...
Yes, on this matter of state police,
yes.
And, some would argue, say, in the midst of the insecurity that we're facing in the country now, would it not have been a good idea to consider having state police?
No. The panacea to the problem of insecurity is for us to consider the security architecture of the country. The security architecture of the country, if you take, for example, advanced countries, you will discover that they are having about, let's say, 40 to 70 components of security architecture. In Nigeria, we have to look at our policing system not on the basis of 1904 police structure. We have to look at it at the emerging realities. For example, we need border patrol police. We need cyber crimes police. We need anti-terrorism police. We need all sorts of components of policing that are in tandem with the evolutionary type of policy security problems that we're having. And then you have to amend sections 153 K, that is talking about the Nigerian Defense Council, L, that is talking about the National Security Council, M, that is talking about the Nigerian Police Council. And even if you are to do that one, you have to amend sections 214 to 216 that says that exclusively it is the police that has the responsibility of maintenance of internal security. And where the police cannot handle that one, then you now invoke the provisions of sections 217 to 219 by inviting other components of the security to come and assist. Now, in that context, you have to evaluate the capacity of the police we have vis-a-vis vis-a-vis the population. 385,000 police that we have in, half of them are there, safeguarding the interests and the lives of Mr. Somebody's. Half of it there is there protecting multinational corporations, sensitive governmental establishments, serving as convoys to VIPs and the rest. The remaining half, or very little of it, will be the ones that are navigating roads and the distance, and then you have so we should increase the number of the police. We should make all components of our developmental structure under the police if we really want to be serious. For example, the immigration, the customs, the civil defense corps, all these are supposed to be under the police. But because we place interest of money, revenue generation, we said customs should not be under finance, not under money. So we need to evaluate and restructure the security architecture as a whole. The National Defense Council, the National Police Council, the Nigerian Security Council should be the ones that will meet, and all the governors are members of the National Security Council, so that at the end of it, they bring an evolution of a holistic proposal that will put an end to the inadequacies of the police mechanism that we're having in the country to contend the emerging security challenges that we're having.
All right, we'll take a short break here. When we return, the phone lines will be open. That means you can get to join the discussion in the studio, and we will explore further the process of amending, altering the Constitution. Stay with us. We'll be back.
What if you stumble into an opportunity at your own convenience? What if you stumble into a friendly stranger and all you had to do is wave? What if you unlock the opportunity of a lifetime with this new acquaintance in a branded shirt? What if all you have to do is your favorite things in your favorite places? Shopping at the mall, having a weekend getaway, or going to the movies? Your future is right outside your door. We are closer than you think.
Ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, this segment, of course, the phone lines will be open. It means you can get to join the discussion in the studio, and we promise we'd acquaint you with the procedure. It's something we say every Tuesday. If you do call in and your call gets through to the studio, turn down the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And we also encourage you to go straight to the point, ask your question or make a comment. Do not bother too much about the greetings. A simple hello is fine. There's not much time for you to stay on. Don't bother about all the other things that go with greetings. Just go straight to the point, ask a question or raise an issue, and our guests here will address whatever issues you might raise. So we start off now with another of our reports, this time from Enugu.
Nigeria has witnessed several constitutions from inception. The constitution is the supreme law of the land, which individuals and all facets of parliament must not contravene. This fundamental apparatus of a nation's law guarantees the citizenry's civil rights and liberties. What is known today as Nigeria is made up of various ethnic groups, with socio-political institutions merged into an administrative unit. Research shows that the establishment of Nigeria laid the foundation for constitutional development in the country. Experts in Enugu describe the recent move by President Muhammadu Buhari in signing the Electoral Amendment Act into law as a right step to constitutional development, which will be of immense benefit to Nigerian populace.
Yes, it is a good development, but then the stakeholders, the state actors involved in implementing that law should also try and abide by the provisions of the law.
On the legislative actions on further bills seeking amendments of the Constitution, a constitutional lawyer in Enugu says the legal process of any change must be guaranteed by the stipulated law.
When Mr. President or a state governor vetoes any bill, that bill will be passed when it is returned to the legislature by a simple majority. But today it's not possible. You can only veto that assent by 2/3 majority. It is wrong for anybody to question constitutional amendment. It can be, even if it's 1 million times needed, it should be done. There's a principle of law that said that reason is the soul of the law. And the moment the reason changes, then the law is essentially changed. So if the reason for any particular provision of the Constitution changes, then there is the need to change that part of the Constitution.
While Nigerians are expected to abide by the laws from this constitutional development, they are optimistic that those in authority should consider the plight of the masses when amending any chapter of the Constitution.
All right, we have a call coming through now from Port Harcourt. Safwan, I believe. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Okay. In fact, I want to let the last speaker that my brother from Jigawa and the other person that talk about the constitution. In fact, it's very important to us to see that, to take care of our people that we are seeing something happen in this country. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Because this country needs something to good for us, and let's take care of our people that are thinking about good for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your
Thank
comment.
you. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go over to our Kanu Network Center. And again, the question of autonomy, judicial autonomy. We've asked this question so many times. Why would it be that executives are not too willing to grant this autonomy? And you find it also happens that there are lawyers among governors who would not want to grant autonomy. Why is that so, do you think?
So, Mr. Cyril, I can't actually say why, because I'm not part of the executive, so I might not know their reasons for doing that. And but I think this time around, I doubt much if there will be too much opposition from the executive as far as the autonomy of the judiciary is concerned, because going by what we are seeing day by day, we can say to some extent that the judiciary is already independent, because you will be seeing judgments that are against the executive arm of government coming out from our courts day by day, despite maybe the fact that there is no financial autonomy for the judiciary. So I can say giving them the autonomy will not will be a good thing, and it will help our democracy. It will help our democracy grow, and it will be good for the country. And I believe this time around, most of the executives will give their support.
Let's go back to the phones now. We have Omar Anache calling in from Brindin Kebi. Hello, go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Siro. My name is Umar Anache, calling from Berlin, KB. Let me appreciate my elder brother, Minister Kuku. May God bless us with some people like him. And secondly, let me recommend the National Assembly for the job well done. Particularly, the amendment that entices me is the one that limits, give limits to the president and governors' time limit. They state their time limit within which they would appoint their commissioner and ministers as well. And secondly, or thirdly, it is not the amendment of the Constitution that matters, but following the Constitution. Several times we will amend the Constitution, but if we do not follow it, we will not achieve what we want to achieve. That is, law and order must be guided by the Constitution and must be followed religiously. What is the problem of Nigeria is the law and order. If the Constitution is amended millions of times, if it is not followed, the aim is not being achieved. That is what I'm going to say. May God continue to bless our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, back here in the studio, we were talking on the issue of autonomy for the judiciary and why it would seem that there's some foot dragging over that.
Yes, the judiciary, because of the ethics of the profession, definitely is bound to be receiving negligent attention. Let me use that terminology. Because they are not known really to be blowing their own trumpets. They are not known really to be agitating for themselves, because they are the arbiter of filtering the society's interest. And they have been doing the best within the ambits of their limitations. But it is very difficult for an average executive member to really think of absolute autonomy for the judiciary. Because when you look at the character of an average politician, a politician in most cases with the highest respect to the practitioners, a politician is not necessarily to be a statesman. It requires somebody to be a statesman for him to jettison his own interest, for him to jettison his own primordial considerations and give overall better interests of the nation over and above what he wants. In most cases, when you look at the way politicians are playing their game, it is more or less a matter of self-actualization, self-protection, and self-advancement in most cases. And that is the reason why you see a gap between the citizenry expectation of development from the politicians, which in most cases, every society you see development, it emanates from the statesmen and not necessarily the politicians. So long we don't match what Umar Anache talk about, the practice of the amendments. There may be amendments, excellent, very good amendments, but if they don't get complementary practice of the genuine intendment, putting the nation over and above any other consideration, then we will continue to be making amendments without practical realization of the ultimate end expectations.
All right, back to the phones now. We have Victor calling in from Lagos. Hello, Victor, go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I think it has been a very robust discussion. I have a question for the distinguished in the House. But before that, I just want to say, I think your guest in the House misconstrued Prof earlier when he talked about homegrown constitution, or the constitution being homegrown. Well, maybe they will have to take state courses for Prof to enlighten them on that. That said, you know, in developed lines I would like to mention, researchers conduct research, write papers, and make recommendations. Government adopt those recommendations as policies. Here in our time, if a professor or a researcher is making or is speaking from those conducted research, most times self-sponsored, is being referred to as someone who is speaking from, you know, having spent so much time in the classroom, you know, assessed by the distinguished. I'm going to leave that at that. But I want to ask a question. Honorable Senator, sir, what's the next phases of amendments that we're going to see? Are we putting into consideration what is happening now in Ebonyi State? Do you think defection from by politicians from one party to the other? Do you think that is a matter that should come up, you know, at this time, you know, in part of our constitutional amendment? You know, I want to know if that is being considered, if it's on the table, or if it's something you feel shouldn't be part of our constitutional amendment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Senator, how do you?
If memory serves me right, I think one of the bills thrown out actually, you know, was about losing your seat if you switch parties. And, you know, having said that, we're looking at the Ebonyi situation in isolation. These things have happened. People have been switching parties since 1999, both at the legislative and at the executive level. And it has gone to court, all the way to the Supreme Court, you know, and the Supreme Court has affirmed that simply because you switch parties, the Constitution gives a proviso in the sense that if you can prove that there's a divide in the party, then of course you can easily switch parties without any implication. Even having said that, you know, we've seen situations where in some states the division is actually created, you know, so that one can justify moving from one party to another. But I think it was one of the bills that was presented, and it wasn't very popular, perhaps because even within the National Assembly, there's quite a lot of movement from both parties, I may say, you know, from one party to the other, from the opposition party to the ruling party.
All right.
Yes, I want to interject a little because Section 58 that talks about this issue of where somebody defects to another party, except if it's as a result of the division, is so micro, is restricted only to parliamentarians. I think it is very, very important the National Assembly should consider widening the rope to cover any elected officer so as to sanitize the system. In a situation whereby you get all these gladiatory movements from one party to the other without ideological sense of respect or anything, virtually now you cannot say what is the difference between APC and PDP, for example, if not the name. Those that were there as the founding fathers of this will be among those that are aspiring to become chairman of this party. So it is important to have some sense of sanity, and this device will be one of those things that will sanitize. Let it not be restricted to legislators. Let us go to all appointees and all elected officers of Nigeria. Whosoever leaves the vehicle that brings him to office should abandon the office and move into another vehicle accordingly.
Okay, back to the phones. We have Brian calling in from Lagos. Brian from Lagos, go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good evening, Mr. Cyril.
Good evening.
And distinguished senators and guests on the show. I really appreciate. I would like to say one of the issues of the constitutional amendment we are having in this country, one of the main issues why we seem not to be getting it right is because, like one of the guests rightly said, we lack a political ideology in this country. Between APC, PDP, AD, and all of that, there is really a lack of political ideology. I believe the aim of a constitutional amendment should be to amend the Constitution along the path of a political ideology. But when there is no defined political ideology, what we find out is we amend the constitution to the left, to the right, to the center, left, up, down, but there's no real clear direction as to the progress of the country. And I believe our political leaders need to do more in terms of political ideology. And I think that would also help to curtail this cross-carpeting between political parties, because then people would know, okay, you stand for a political ideology whereby you want people to have certain rights or certain principles. So it's going to be difficult to create cross-carpet like they say. So that's just my submission. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Brian from Lagos. Thank you. Well, let's go back to Ilori and put this matter of some of the amendments we're talking about here. For instance, the autonomy of the judiciary. Why has this taken such a long time to come about?
Thank you very much. It's, over the years, it's been always difficult to actually say, okay, judiciary, let us give you the autonomy. And like it was rightly pointed out, it's partly because judiciaries, members of the judiciary don't blow their trumpets. And of course, based on that, they are usually taken for granted, and that is why you see them not having financial autonomy. I did a study sometimes in 2011 in which I had to interview a number of judges and justices across the country up to the Supreme Court as to whether they actually want what we call financial autonomy. Because in the past, the traditional understanding of judges was that they usually do not want to hold money. Because when they hold money, that could be something like judicial scandal. So that the clerk of the court may write a petition. Imagine the head of court going to EFCC or ITPC for questioning. And based on that particular reason, that was the traditional reason why judges themselves did not actually want financial independence. But happenstances and a lot of intrigues have shown that their position is actually open-ended. And now there's a need for rider. And that's the reason why many judges are now saying, yes, they want to hold their money because they've been so much deprived of these funds. And to that extent, they themselves are now desirous of having what we call financial autonomy. And at this stage now, executives don't actually want to release it because most judges are truly independent in the true sense of the word independence. Then they won't be able to control them. And of course, generally who pays the piper dictates the truth. And to that extent, politicians or perhaps executives will not want a situation where judges will be totally independent, so that at least they will have some level of control over some of these judicial officers. But I think if we can be so dispassionate, if we are so rhetoric enough about this particular nation, it's better because you can't be in the particular office forever. It would be better for us to have a situation where judges will be able to give their decisions without any fear or favor, affection, or evil.
All right, thank you. Back to the phone lines. We have Mohammed calling in from Jigawa. Hello.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm Mohammed calling from Jigawa State. Ziko, how are you? I want to thank my distinguished senator for being speaking on behalf of us. And I also wanted to thank the honorable member representing Hadejia constituency for speaking on behalf of us. I know all this issue is about judiciary autonomy. The big problem we had is not from our legislators, it's about our governors. When the autonomy, the governors are not safe enough when they allow the autonomy to pass through. So we are very happy for them to stand and help to contribute issue of autonomy.
Okay.
Because autonomy is part of democracy. So we want them to push harder for the autonomy to be granted. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
Right, thank you very much. Well, back here in the studio, Senator, one of the most discussed matters arising from this effort to amend the Constitution has to do with women issues. Yeah. The House of Representatives has decided to go back and look at 3 of those bills that were thrown out. And you could see at the time those bills suffered at the National Assembly, Nigerian women were furious that how come the legislature is not taking women issues seriously?
I don't think the legislature is not taking women's issues seriously. You see, these bills, lawmaking is it's an issue of advocacy. I told you we went for the public hearings, we got people's opinion. And on the day those bills were passed, various legislators with interest in some of those bills went around their colleagues to try and lobby them on voting one way or the other. Unfortunately, we have very few women in the Senate. A little more in the House of Representatives. And I also fault the way some of the bills were articulated. For example, sure, say you have to. If I was an advocate of a smaller legislature, like somebody was mentioning, people have the opinion that maybe we don't need a bicameral legislature. Maybe we need a smaller National Assembly. And then here we are, you're asking me to support the addition of an additional seat for women, making 4 senators and maybe God knows how many members of the House of Reps, increasing the number, so to speak. So, it could have been articulated much better. My surprise was the one on citizenship. I really don't understand what happened in that case. But of these 2, and the other one that mentioned a specific number of appointees, for example, in the cabinet, that also was not, I didn't go down well with a lot of people because I think he was mentioning a specific figure, say a minimum of 10. Women. If you go to a state like Bayelsa, where there are only 8 local governments, and the governor decides to, appoint and achieve a spread, he has to appoint 10 women. So even if he adds 2 additional commissioners, that means all his commissioners are women. Having said that, women constitute a potent electoral force in this country. I've spoken to some of my colleagues. What you see happen on election day is that the massive turnout is often by the women folk. And again, they are more resilient. Sometimes up to 6:30 p.m., if you go to the voting queue, the only people left behind are women. So I don't understand why, for example, we can't take it back to the grassroots and maybe also look at the parties. In a lot of countries, what happens is that the affirmative action is taken at the party level. It's not enough to say women are not supposed to buy forms. No, the parties should be encouraged to say, for example, we have 3 senators coming from each state. One of them must go to a woman at the party level. You don't need a constitutional amendment to do that. And in fact, some countries encourage that. Go to Spain, go to Mexico. In Ireland, if you have a minimum number of women on the poll, you get certain government funding, and so on and so forth. Even in France. We have seen how successful that has been in terms of having women vote. Women actually do a lot better when it comes to governance. We've seen that even in National Assembly, the few women that we have are Amazons in their own right. And the more women we have, I think the better for us. But I think taking it to the constitutional level creates its own issues. Just like we were discussing earlier on, in the Constitution, there's a section that, talk about discrimination based on sex. If you now say, yes, this has to be a woman, somebody might go to court and say, why am I being discriminated? Why can't you have, it's not that anybody is saying it has to be 3 male senators or it has to be 11 male House of Reps, but they went through a process and they got voted. So I think our focus should really be at the party level. Let's have a situation where parties are encouraged to be affirmative when it comes to women. Don't just give them free forms. Insist. insists that, for any sort of elective, a certain number are reserved for women, so that only women can be on that platform. And they are controlled, and then they can go and talk to the women folk, and then we might, see an improvement in the numbers going forward.
I mean, sir, what do you think about this question of women issues?
Yes. If there is justice, fair play, and equitable practice in the way we run the country, probably all these acrimonies of discriminations will be minimal. If you take the provisions of the Constitution, Section 14, subsection 3, Section 15, subsections 1, 2, and 3, Section 16, Section 17, 1, 2, 3, Sections 18, Section 19, Sections 21, 23, and 24 of the Constitution. All these provisions talks about social justice and equity. If you talk about social justice and equity, and if you tally it with the fact that our sovereignty rests with the people as per Section 14, subsection 1, then it is very, very important. Women should be listened to. But the approach to the women agitation normally is elitist-centered. That is where the problem arises. Like my brother, the distinguished senator, said, in tandem with Section 223 that talks about the operational policies on the way you should go about in politics, you must be involved for you to get what you want in politics. An average definition of politics in Nigeria is manipulation for self-interest, not entrenchment of robust development in the interest of the larger citizenry. People go there to protect their own interests. So women should use their numerical power to enable them vote as many women as possible. They have the capacity to have 50, 40, 45 or 50% of the population, so that they will have almost the same number of men. And by the time
let me bring this to you.
Yes.
Although it might not even be restricted to women, but you see, women also get the short end of the stick here. The question of indigenship, that has affected so many women.
Yes.
Isn't it strange, for instance, like some of them raised, that a woman is married to, a Nigerian woman is married to a Nigerian man, and she cannot be considered, an indigene of his state, but a Nigerian man is married to a non-Nigerian woman, and he gets citizenship in that country.
Really.
And if you move forward, why is it that there is a seeming conflict between citizenship and indigenship?
Well, those are some of the inherent problems we're having. For example, like the case of distinguished Senator Binta Masigarba. The first time she was a distinguished senator from Kaduna State on account of marriage, and then subsequently she emerged as a distinguished senator from her own home state, Adamawa State. Definitely we need to revisit this and look at it in the interest of equity, fair play, and justice. There is no reason why you exploit the privilege of by virtue of having someone else's affinity, and then you claim citizenship, and then in the country here we don't entrench it. It is very, very important. Where are the women groups? The advocacy is really minimal, and owing to lack of synergy and lack of coordination regarding unity of the women. For example, so many of the women that will come and aspire, you will discover that the failure will be from the women folk. A very good testimonial case of Sarah Jibril is still fresh in our mind when she came out to contest and ended up with only her own votes, including not even the votes of any other person that we are following. Now, you understand. So women should really think of having a nationally based platform, not platform based on some primordial considerations of ethnic belonging or professional belonging or whatever.
Let me put the same question to Dr. Abdul Fattah Sambu. And hello, yes.
Please.
Okay, we'll take this call and then we'll go to Dr. Abdul Fattah Sambu. Awal from Garki, hello. If you're on the line, go to the volume of your TV.
Okay.
Right, go ahead.
The question is coming to Dr. Menasra Umar. Please, what are the constitutional rights for Nigerian police to be attached to all politicians? Why we are lacking police people in the
all various police stations in Nigeria. What is judiciary trying to do about removing those police out of those politicians? We are all the same citizens. What are the people doing to return those people back to the decent, for them to take care of insecurity in the country, than attaching them to politicians? Why every citizen have the fundamental right to security and whatsoever. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So you just answer the question, and then we'll go to Dr. Abdul Fatai.
Subsection 2 of the Constitution says, security and welfare of the citizenry is the primary responsibility of government. And that particular question, to go straight to the point, is clearly illegal and is clearly in contradiction with the provisions of the Constitution. Because Section 14, subsection 3, Sections 15, Section 16, Sections 18, Sections 21, 23, and 24 clearly says that there should not be any discrimination on ground of class, on ground of sex, on ground of age, on ground of tribal, on ground of religious, and on ground of any other primordial consideration. So in a situation whereby the police, if you look at, like I said, the totality number of them, less than 400,000, is grossly inadequate with the 210 million Nigerians. And then half of these are deliberately kept for the sake of nepotism, for the sake of protecting those that are the officers of the state. That is clearly wrong. I think the police capacity should be increased, their number should be increased, their weaponry superiority over all the criminals we're having in the country should increase. But definitely, even if the number is increased and the sophistication is increased, it is very, very important for our judicature system to be seriously panel beaten so that the service delivery will be seen. Every day you see committal of criminalities, but you will never see anybody being penalized. These kind of things are some of the factors militating against the efforts of the police. The police should be increased very seriously, proportionate to the number of the citizens we are having, the superiority of the weaponry over the type of this thing. Then, like I said earlier on, it should be reorganized in such a way that we will have some specialized agencies of the police to handle emerging evolutionary threats that we're having in the country as a nation. So definitely speaking, to answer your question, it is illegal, it is wrong, it is in contravention with the provision of the Constitution, and it is self-centered and nepotistic for police officers to be attached to Mr. VIPs in Nigeria.
All right. Now, back to the question of women issues, and then we go over to Dr. Abdul Fatai Sambu in Lorry to get his take on that.
Thank you very much. Actually, let me start by saying I beg to disagree. There's nothing unconstitutional in attaching policemen to politically exposed persons. Because if you look at Section 5 of the Constitution, what is actually important there as one of the executive powers is power to execute and maintain the Constitution. Instrumentalities of government. And instrumentalities of government will mean those who have been assigned with the duties of protecting, implementing the provision of the Constitution. So to that extent, there is nothing unconstitutional, there is nothing illegal. As far as what we should do is to employ more policemen so as to cater for every citizen of Nigeria, because at the moment, we don't have enough policemen. Now, looking at the issue of women, if you look at Section 26 of the Constitution, it talks about a situation where women, when a woman gets married to foreign husband, then it will not mean that they have actually, they can be registered as a citizen of Nigeria. I think that can also be extended to, so as to have this gender balance. But at any rate, it doesn't mean that this thing cannot also be included in the Constitution, because if you don't include it in the Constitution, you have sections 13 to 24 of the Constitution have been cited. You discover that by virtue of the provision of Section 6 of 6C of the Constitution, the entire provisions of Section 13 to 24, that is Chapter 2 of the Constitution, has been rendered not justiciable. At least the court has no power to enforce that particular provision, even though Section 13 is saying, yes, it shall be the duties and responsibilities of every arm of government to enforce or ensure the observance of the provision of Chapter 2. But that has been taken away by the provision of Section 6 of 6C of the Constitution, except the National Assembly at this time now makes use of their power given on to them under Part 2 item 60 second schedule to the 1999 Constitution, to now say that yes, they want to activate the provision of this chapter 2. Then that is where you see the issue of political rights, economic rights, foreign policies of being made actually justiciable. And when you have women are also very, very important in our society. Their roles cannot just be taken away like that. But except it is included in the Constitution, the important thing of making this, to constitutionalize this is that it will now lead to a situation where nobody can argue that a provision of the Constitution is unconstitutional. That cannot be able to stand side by side with Section 42 of the Constitution that talks about issue of discrimination. So you can't say a provision of the Constitution, if it has been added to the Constitution, you can say it's unconstitutional, because it is constitutional that serves as a basis of all powers and authorities in Nigeria. So I believe women should be given chances to at least contribute their own quota to the development of Nigeria.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. We will go over to Kano Network Center, and Honorable Abubakar Sadiq Jallo, we're still talking about the question of women issues, and would like to get your take on this matter.
My take is that women play a very important role in our society, and by virtue of their number and by virtue of the very important role they play as mothers, I think they should be given opportunities. They should be given chances to give their own or to play their own part towards the development of the society. Most especially looking at their nature, they have this inbuilt skill, for leadership. Maybe that's the way God created them, looking at their anatomy, and I believe that's why they excel wherever they are given opportunities. So I am in support of this. I can say I am a product of that, because I believe out of about 30,000 people that voted me, almost 20,000 are women. So I will always be in support of whatever we give them equality will be fair to women. This is my stand.
Right. Thank you so much. And back here, there is also this other matter, which almost became a huge controversy. And in fact, when it started off, if I recall correctly, it went to court. And that's the matter of collection of value-added tax and such matters. And this also came up, whether this should be. What we are seeing now is this process that's going to take care of these issues.
Well, the matter is still in court. The move to move that from the concurrent to the exclusive didn't sail through in the Senate. But having said that, I think there are 2 or 3 states that are actually agitating or have actually gone to court to ensure that they be allowed to collect their own VAT. The problem with that is that once that happens, then it's no longer VAT. There is not a single country in the world where VAT collection is decentralized. By its very nature, you can't decentralize it. Unless we are going to introduce sales tax in every state. What you have, I think, is a recipe for chaos, where everybody would be applying his own VAT across. So when you have movement of goods and services that pass through 9 or 10 states, then you have VAT being applied 10 times. The wisdom behind the decentralization is that you have a central pool, so you have VAT refunds where the possibility of multiple taxation is avoided because you have one central collecting authority. It will be interesting to see how this will play out if the Lagos and Rivers eventually get their day in court, vis-a-vis what the FIRS will now be forced to do in his VAT collection. Well, like I said, I've not come across any situation where VAT as a tax, value-added tax collection is decentralized.
Well, Minister, let's come to you on that. As a lawyer, and yes, the matter has been taken to court. We're not going into the details of that action, but there were attempts to make an amendment to amend that portion of it.
Yes, first of all, is subject this, since it's in the court for me to comment on it. And then secondly, the National Assembly has decided to throw away the proposal for the amendment. So for these two reasons, I wouldn't like to interfere and talk in that respect. But however, what I would like to say in respect of the issue of tax is that tax should be given some face of democracy. In other words, let the real productive benefit of the taxation be seen in entrenchment of robust development for the country.
So no matter who collects,
no matter who collects, my own worry is that
the proceeds must go to
preponderance of what is collected as tax ends up in private few pockets. That is my own worry. So we let developmental giant strides be entrenched with the money of the tax. That is my concern, the interest of an average common man.
Okay. And just before we leave off so many of these issues, there's also still going back on the question of taking certain things off the exclusive list. And someone said it's an attempt to decongest. We look at the airports, for instance, rail transportation, which might be, as the way they are now, constituting a cog to development.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice that I think railways, airports, prison services, and I think power generation have all been moved to concurrently so that states can also be given a chance to participate. It was really, a disincentive to have everything being controlled by the federal government. I give you an example of power. A lot of states, especially in the north today, I think have the capacity to generate their own power. My experience from Jigawa with solar power, the fact that we had 6 or 7 solar power investors who are willing to put in almost 400 megawatts of power in the state. We finished our processes, we gave them land. Well, we spent 3 to 4 years going back and forth at the Federal Ministry of Power over issues relating to tariff agreements and so on and so forth. And the only reason that happened is because we did not have the constitutional right, so to say, the freedom to really go it our own way and sell it. And it's a disincentive. Same thing with railways. You find that right now railways are the exclusive preserve of the federal government. With all the rail investment going on now, there are states that want or have the capacity to have railways, but the master plan by the federal government just said, there's going to be a railway station in almost every state capital. You can have a situation where the state capital might not be the most, how would I say, the most lucrative or the most sensible place to have rail. So if states had the power to do their own infrastructure, you could just add it as you go along, since it's concurrent. Same thing with prisons. Anything you do now, states are building airports all over the place. Once you finish, you still have to hand it over to the Federal Airports Authority to manage if you want to get commercial flights to come in. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it will encourage a lot of investment in these sectors.
Right. Let me go to Dr. Abdul Fattah Sambu on this matter, particularly the question of the prisons. And some Nigerians in the past have spoken against this to say it's ridiculous, isn't it, that the state courts would convict a criminal and then they would be sent to a federal custodial center. And it doesn't really make sense.
Whether it's federal or state custodial center, the most part that person has actually served is punishment. And by virtue of section 6 of the Constitution, nobody will be subjected to double jeopardy. If you have been convicted, whether in federal court or state court, as long as you have even served another person has served his or her jail time, doesn't affect anything. But I want to really commend the National Assembly on this, to have actually decongested about 68 items that we have in the exclusive legislative list is too much. And I think if some are taken to concurrent list, that will be fine, just like the distinguished senator has said. But another thing that I thought it should have been added is something that is done in some other countries, where you have what we call a list that is exclusive to federal government. You also have a list that is exclusive to the states. Then you have concurrent list. In that, in that situation, it doesn't create too much conflict. In those situations where people will not be going to court to challenge the exercise of one right, power or the other. So we have situations that will lead to less conflict because the state would have known areas in which they have exclusive power to operate. The federal government would have known the areas in which they have exclusive power to operate, areas in which they can cooperate or have concurrent, because we cannot underestimate the importance of having concurrent lists. And one of the advantages of having the concurrent list to allow states to develop at their own pace, and it will also have a situation to lead to a situation where the National Assembly will make law, then states will now adopt these laws later on. Just like the Aviation of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, discovered that many states, especially Lagos, you have so many states now adopting that particular piece of legislation. That's the advantage of one of the advantages of having concurrent.
Okay, so
with regard to
okay. All right. Okay. As we wind down, we must thank you, Dr. Abdul Fattah Sambu, Associate Professor, Department of Public Law, University of Ilorin. Thank you for joining this conversation on NTA Tuesday Live about alterations. You prefer to say alterations, not amendment to the Constitution. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Right. We'll quickly go to Honorable Abubakar Sadiq Jallo, Chairman, Committee on Judiciary, Jigawa State House of Assembly, who joined us from our Kano Center. Your final words as we wind down this discussion?
My final wordings will be... My final wordings will be...
As we're winding down, we're beginning to have those audio issues. But, well, just to say thank you very much for being with us on this discussion. We look forward to the next stage when these matters will come to the state legislature. And perhaps after that, we'll get your views once again. Thank you for being with us. Okay. Back here in the studio, Minasara Kugo Umar.
Yes, regarding these areas of concurrent, moving from exclusive to concurrent is a very good development, but I want to comment on only one because there is no time. The issue of the airports. We should be very, very careful. There is very serious control of the federal. That is one. Secondly, there are so many areas I would like the National Assemblies to consider in the interest of developing our democracy further. Number one, consider the possibility of merging the two chambers of the National Assembly into one, reducing the number there, and then clearly make it possible whether they are part-time or full-time, so that this issue of jumbo package that you are taking over the interests of the nation will be arrested. That is one. Number two, issue of qualification for candidates, so that we will not be getting the type of people we are seeing, the dramatic personnel in the polity. Number three, it is very important you take decision regarding this issue anyway, because of the time. There are so many areas really desiring amendment that the National Assembly has not really put their torchlight. Very sensitive areas that we need to look into. The issue of proliferation of political parties, we need limitation of that. So many independence, corruption court, political offenses court.
We may revisit this back at some other point, but let's get the closing comments of
thank you. Well, in closing, I'd just like to say that, with what has happened in the Ninth Assembly, the process of amending the Constitution is no longer shrouded in mystery. I think there's a lot of transparency in the process. And I think we should have a situation where we don't need any special arrangement to have a constitutional amendment. As we go along, as issues come up, let us focus on the lessons we have learned to create more flexibility in the process, so that it can just be a dynamic and continuous process. As issues come up, if it's clashes to the Constitution, we go through a process and amend it. We don't have to wait till we accumulate 70 or 80 bills and then have the spotlight on the National Assembly. It's lawmaking. It's just that, you know, because of the Constitution, we have to have special arrangements and considerations. Thank you.
All right. So we'd like to thank you for being part of the discussion tonight. We thank you very much for your time. So that's our program today. We also thank you for being part of it, those who called in, those who also aired their views on the subject matter. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Continue to stay safe.